Chapter 34 Mysterious Martial Spirit. Chapter 34 Mysterious Martial Spirit. He realized in surprise that the power could not only operate the profound qi, but also increase it by levels. The martial spirit only increases with the advancement in martial levels. It will be enhanced only with the progression to higher level. This was to say, one would have a breakthrough in his martial spirit only when he enhanced from elementary level to nascent level, or from nascent level to human level, and so on. The small progress from the first sky of nascent level to the second sky wouldn't change the martial spirit a bit. Only the progress across levels could develop the martial spirit. However, there were exceptions. The martial spirit didn't increase with every advancement of a level. Sometimes, it only increased when the warrior progressed by 2 or 3 levels. For example, the progress of Shi Yan's petrification martial spirit consisted of 4 stages. A descendant of Shi family who inherited petrification martial spirit would show gray skin about 10 days after his birth, which meant the first stage. If this guy was diligent in training martial arts and reached the human level, the petrification martial spirit would develop and his skin would turn dark brown, which was the second stage. Once he got to the earth level, the skin would grow green with the advancement in martial skill, which meant the third stage. If he was genius enough to get to the sky level, the martial skill would reach the pinnacle and the skin would turn purple, which would be the fourth stage. The petrification martial spirit of the Shi family strengthened only with every 2 levels and then changed one's skin color. Every time the petrification martial spirit changed and progressed to a higher state, one's muscle's defensive power would increase by several times. When the petrification martial spiritual was at first stage, one could easily defend against human fists and attacks infused with profound qi to a level. When it reached the second stage and the skin turned dark brown, the defensive power would increase by many times, and one could not only defend against the strong attacks from profound qi, but could also safeguard attacks from average weapons. The green skin of stage 3 had a much stronger defensive power. Weapons could hardly penetrate one's body, and at the same time, one's body would still unbelievably be agile and flexible. As it reached stage 4, the body would turn purple and wouldn't be injured by anything, not even by water, fire, or any mysterious tricks. The body would become enormously powerful and agile. In Nitalai, if the descendant of Shi family was at elementary or nascent level, his petrification martial spirit would stay at stage 1. It wouldn't advance until he broke to human level. The stage of this martial spirit advanced only with the increase of one's level. Other martial spirits on the Grace mainland were all the same as petrification. They increase along with the advancing of one's level. But some magical pills could change the rules and help the martial spirit increase cross levels. On the Grace mainland, these magical pills existed only in legends. Warriors of the Fire Empire, the God-blessed Empire, and the Merchant Union had merely heard of these. The real pills hadn't been beheld by anybody. Even the 3 medicine kings of the Medicine Valley in the Fire Empire were only soul-level alchemists, far from the divinity-level alchemists who were able to refine such magical pills. However, that power from his meridians seemed to have broken the rules. That magical power could not only awaken the martial spirit, but also increase the martial spirit through stages. His arms had turned dark brown after petrification, which would happen only to a warrior of human level from the Shi family. This was apparently the second stage of petrification. The magical power could awaken his martial spirit and can also increase it. What did this mean? It meant that he might enter stage 4 of petrification martial spirit even if he hadn't advanced to the sky level. Being impervious to either weapon or water, the body would not turn stiff, but become more agile, being able to defend against all kinds of attacks. At the thought of power of stage 4 of petrification, Shi Yan was pleased that he had gained something precious. This ability was obviously a martial spirit too, which not only helped him purify the profound qi in his meridians, but also mysteriously imposed negative emotions on his foes during fights. This mysterious martial spirit was able to absorb profound qi from the dead, alter it into a live magical power in meridians, and awaken and increase other martial spirits. Shi Yan's dark eyes were sparkling like stars. Sitting there silently, he realized that if he trained hard with the help of this amazing martial spirit, he would be a terrible existence on the Grace mainland. The dark forest. In a bloody area, where there were dead bodies all around the ground, a troop of people who looked gloomy were examining something. They were from the Wolf Mercenary Union. Bernard walked among those dead bodies, looking worried. The captain of the Wolf Mercenary Union was a disaster-level warrior, the same as me. It looks like they were obliterated completely. On hearing that, the Crescent Emissary and Emo Chauga frowned at the same time. After a moment's hesitation, the Crescent Emissary took out a silver horn and began to blow it. Instead of any sound, an odd wave was sent out and propagated away. Before long, two men, who wore silver gowns and masks, showed up secretly from the woods. Their masks were green and tush-like, which were different from the pale masks on the Crescent Emissary and his people. "Emissary, have you found anything?" The Crescent Emissary asked coldly. "Many warriors and mercenaries were attacked last night by demon beasts. Too many footprints here. We can't tell which are our targets," one star emissary answered respectfully. The Dark World had two divisions, Dark Emissaries and Black Emissaries. The former were responsible for tracing and collecting information, and the latter killing. They were graded as the star, the moon, and the sun. Though the Dark Emissaries and the Black Emissaries did completely different work, they were strictly graded. The Star Emissaries of star level were under Crescent Emissaries of moon level. Is it so hard to find the target? The Crescent Emissary was good at killing and fighting, but was bad at tracing. Hearing that, his eyes turned dim. "Sir, it's a large area and there are too many warriors, demon beasts, and mercenaries, so it's really hard to find the targets. During these days searching, we were attacked by numerous mercenaries, and one of us was killed. The Dark World had disrepute, so the bold warriors and mercenaries who came to this area might kill people from the Dark World if they were in a bad mood. In the past couple of days, they had encountered these kinds of cases for some time. They were even challenged after they cooperated with warriors from Emo family, though they didn't lose much. Can't find the targets, and unsettled demon beasts too tough." After pondering on it, Emo Chauga said, "We should stop this aimless search. What about waiting in the Silent Town? It is the only way toward the Merchant Union. They would definitely go to the Silent Town once they get out of the Dark Forest, thus we could wait for them there." "Good idea." Bernard nodded and showed a murderous look. "Whoever goes to the Merchant Union would pass the Silent Town, so we just need to wait and meet them there. Well then, let's cross this region as soon as possible, and wait for their appearance during our way to the Silent Town." The Crescent Emissary kept mute for a long time and compromised to this suggestion, for he couldn't come up with a better one. The three came to an agreement quickly and stopped searching for Serene and his friends. The Y began to prepare to cross the Dark Forest and ambush on its border and the way to the Silent Town. For 5 days, they were moving in the Dark Forest carefully, hiding from demon beasts and warriors. At night, they would stop moving and rest in covert region. In this way, they avoided many high-level demon beasts, mercenaries, and warriors with great luck. And every night, Serene would train ceaselessly to adapt the second stage of petrification and let the shift go to every cell of his body. Tianyun had kept away from men for years. And since she had those amazing experiences with Serene, she would always ask him for it. They let off their passions under trees, in bushes, and beside brooks. Miyudai knew she was not able to stop them, so she just let it go, though sometimes she still couldn't help cursing and complaining about them being shameless. This night, after a short training, Tianyun jumped up and shouted mirthfully, I just had a breakthrough." Not long before that, she was having a crazy time with Serene under a big tree. In another ancient tree not far from Tianyun, Miyudai stuck her head out with surprise. Seeing Tianyun in messy clothes, she shouted, That is working." Chapter 35. Block the Cave. Chapter 35. Blocking the Cave. Serene slowly opened his eyes. He looked at Tianyun, who was still in an absolute bliss, and said with a smile, "Congratulations. Sister Lan, After figuring out what the mysterious martial spirit was truly capable of, Yan was just as excited as well. Although Tianyun was just shagging him for a couple of days, she had already benefited enormously and reached the human level. This was almost a miracle, which proved that this mysterious martial spirit indeed had limitless power. Thank you so much. There was a warmth of gratitude shining through Tianyun's gorgeous eyes. She didn't need to be a genius to realize that what happened to her was due to Yan. For the past few days, she really saw enormous improvements. Well, this might have something to do with the medicine within my body. Anyway, Sister Lan, you've also earned all this by yourself. Yan replied with a cool face, so, now that you have reached the human level, could you show us the power of your martial spirit, blue magic flame? Could there be any difference with before? Tianyun smiled like a blooming flower. She slowly raised her left hand, with a blue flame suddenly bursting on her palm. The flame was the size of a watermelon, which gradually covered her entire hand. The blue flame was like a living creature. It suddenly turned into dozens of fire snakes, moving around her beautiful arm. Moreover, this magic blue flame could change into various shapes with Tianyun's thoughts. It would suddenly turn into snakes and then into birds, just like actual living creatures, which would almost fly away from her palm at any time. The moment I reached the human level, I could distinctly sense that my blue magic flames had changed. My martial spirit is stronger than ever. Tianyun couldn't hide her excitement. Not only it has become bigger in size, from the size of a fist to the size of a man's head, but it also has achieved the capability of matter condensation, which means that it has already reached the second stage. Her martial spirit was capable of matter condensation. Yan nodded. He instantly realized that Tianyun's martial spirit, blue magic flame, was also quite something. He complimented, "Well, congratulations again. This is all because of you," Tianyun said with a shine in her charming eyes. She couldn't hide her sexual desire in her smile. How's this even possible? Miyudai, who was resting on the tree, was filled with doubt and suspicion. It only took Sister Lan a couple of days to reach the human level. That's way too fast. How is this even possible? Sister Lan, I clearly remember that you only reached the third sky of a nascent warrior 6 months ago. Yes, that's true. Tianyun was on top of the world and said proudly, I did just enter the third sky of a nascent warrior 6 months ago. Even I didn't expect that I could reach the human level so soon. I thought it would at least take me another 3 to 5 years of hard practice before I could ever reach the human level. Hehe. Miyudai had no idea how to answer her bragging, so she simply rolled her eyes. How come? This guy's essence. Does it really have that kind of magical power? With her mind lingering on that thought, Miyudai couldn't help but blush again. She forced herself to stop right there and almost called herself a slut. Another 5 days had passed by. The three of them continued to proceed in the dark forest with great caution. In those 5 days, each night, they would always hear chaos from the dark forest, mixed with the roaring of demon beasts and the crying and screaming of human warriors, as well as mercenaries. This continuous noise and chaos would make even the bravest man be filled with horror. Yan instantly realized that there must be some human who had irritated the higher-level demon beasts. That's why during those nights, he would find a peaceful and an absolutely safe area to rest, and never took any chance to go out at night. During this period, he decided not to confront with any demon beasts or to pick fights with any mercenaries, i.e., avoiding any trouble from both sides. Because of this code of caution that they took during those 5 days, although the three of them didn't cover a long distance, they didn't run into any trouble on their way either. Apart from that, if Yan got lucky, he would still find some dead warriors freshly killed by those demon beasts. As soon as those demon beasts left, Yan would rush to those corpses to collect their lingering profound qi. But for the sake of safety, he would always wait for a while after those demon beasts had left, before showing up around those corpses. Although he didn't harvest much profound qi from each corpse, with the stolen profound qi accumulating within his body, Yan also managed to enhance his own petrification martial spirit by a bit. Until now, his body was already able to petrify entirely within seconds, just with a thought. All of his skin would change to dark brown, and his defense power was also slowly enhancing. For the past few days, there was never a second when he ever forgot about the practice for controlling his own madness. However, the last threshold was just too difficult for him to break through. Every time he tried to operate the negative energy within his meridians in his brain, he would suffer from a mind-splitting pain. And when he reversed his profound chi within his body, he would be under so much pain that he would faint instantly. After a few days of practice, he still could not manage himself through the last stage of rampage. And after such a series of fainting, Shuryen guessed that he was probably using the wrong approach. Therefore, he gave up on this tough approach and figured that he should try another way after a few days' reflection. It was night again. The three of them were hiding in a dark cave within a valley. With the opening of the cave covered with bushes, they talked in a low voice. They could hear troops of demon beasts passing by their cave on the outside. It seemed there were the roaring and howling of demon beasts everywhere. God knows how many demon beasts were out there on that night. It is a little unusual tonight. It seems that all the demon beasts in the dark forest have come out. Tianyun said with a frown on her face, "This is too strange. Usually, even if the warriors and mercenaries are too out of line, those demon beasts would at most attack them for 2 or 3 days. There is no reason for all these demon beasts to come out. God knows what the hell is going on out there. Behind such large-scale attacks and movements of these demon beasts, there must be orders from a demon beast of a much higher level." Shuryen said with a serious face, "The Silver Thunder Wolf is already a level 7 demon beast, equaling our warrior of the sky level. It not only has demon crystals within its body, but also possesses the intelligence of the same level as humans. As even the Silver Thunder Wolf has showed up to lead, there must be a huge fight behind. Thank God we proceeded with great caution these days, not aiming to cover more distance, but making safety our first priority. Otherwise, we would have been in loads of trouble." Tianyun nodded. Tata. There were some messy footsteps from the outside of the cave. They assumed that this was the movement of human warriors out there. With such frequent movement of the demon beasts out there, those human warriors who were still moving around must be in some serious trouble, probably also being chased and hunted by those demon beasts right now. "Maybe we should go out and take a look? Maybe we could offer some help," Muyudai asked the other two people dimly. Shuryen and Tianyun both took a glimpse at Muyudai, but didn't say anything. "What? You want to let them die just like that?" Muyudai frowned. She was obviously quite upset. "There are so many demon beasts out there. We can barely hide ourselves right now. If this cave also got compromised, I am afraid we wouldn't have much luck with those demon beasts. Apart from that, how can you be so sure that the warriors outside are not a disaster to us? What if they also lust for your beauty? God knows how much trouble that could bring us. I suggest you mind your own business." Shuryen sniffed with no mercy at all. Muyudai was not that naive. Of course she knew all about these. She only said this because she couldn't bear the idea that humans were killed by those cruel beasts. But after being taught a lesson by Shuryen like that, her pride was badly hurt. She puckered her lips and mumbled, "Cold-blooded. You are not even a human. I guess you are just too scared of dying. I misjudged you before. According to your suggestion, you are not only not scared to die, you are literally begging to be killed." Shuryen sneered with a grin. "Miss Mu, you did save my life twice, but I have already repaid your favor. Just so you know, the only reason I am still here is not because of you, but because of what your Uncle Luo has entrusted me with before he died." Shuryen paused a little and continued, "You are not my princess, so don't pull your drama on me. This annoys me a lot. If I really got pissed one day, I will just leave you here. Whatever you'd like to do is none of my business." "You asshole." Miyudai felt so wronged that her eyes were starting to wet. She tried her best to control her tears and said with a crying voice, "You know nothing better than lecturing me. Okay, give it a break you too. At this time, we should be united. We are all heading towards the Merchant Union, so we'd better stick together and look after each other. Stop fighting over such trivial stuff." Tianyun intermediated in their conversation. Oh crap! Shiryan suddenly stood up, and his face looked like hell. It seems those people have discovered this cave. They are heading towards this way. Shit! No way! Tianyun was also astonished. She quickly picked up her dagger and guarded the entrance of the cave together with Shiryan. What should we do now? Ow! Woo! The roaring and howling of the demon beasts could be heard outside the cave. It seemed that there were more and more demon beasts coming toward their way. Block the entrance. Shiryan suddenly changed the look on his face. He put his hands against the rock on the entrance of the cave and shouted, "Come here and pin these rocks. We cannot let anyone into this cave." As soon as other humans get into this cave, those demon beasts would figure out quickly that we're here. If those demon beasts stick around, then sooner or later they would discover us, and that would be a complete disaster. I am not going down with those guys out there. After Shiryan entered this cave, he not only had covered the entrance with bushes and leaves, but had also moved some big rocks to block the opening, just in case for this type of situation to happen. He didn't expect that these rocks would actually be put to use. Okay. Tianyun was a little shocked, but she also quickly joined Shiryan in pinning the big rocks, thus blocking the entrance of the cave. Chapter 36. Bang. Chapter 36. Bang. 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 The sound of heavy strikes on the rocks came one after another. Violent strikes were forced onto Shiryan, who was blocking the cave. He and Tianyun were both shocked and felt numb in their arms. Hey friends inside the cave, take your hands off. Or I won't be this polite anymore. At the entrance of the cave, a cold voice yelled, "My martial spirit can perceive life signs within 200 meters. I know there are 3 of you. We just want to get in and hide for a while. Please do us a favor. It's our cave. Please go and find one of your own. Don't get us into trouble." Shiryan looked very serious as he pressed all his profound chi into his arms. In no time, his arms began to contract and turn dry, while white fog flew around them. Move. Demon beasts will come in a few minutes, and there must be several high-level ones. If you don't want to lose your lives, let us in. A forthright voice cried fretfully. Get lost. Our cave is too small for you people. Shiryan was rather cold, showing not the slightest amount of friendliness. Their cave was not big enough, so it could only hold 6 people, and counting the rock at the entrance, it could only hold 5 people at most. According to their breaths, Shiryan could tell there were 6 of them, which was too much for this small cave. Steve, come with me. Let's break it. One of them shouted coldly with impatience. Sure. Bang. Bang. 2 streams of explosive power struck the rock at the same time, and an enormous force blasted out from within the hard rock at once. With the dull booms, the hard rock, which was being supported by Shiryan and Tianyun, was comminuted into dozens of pieces. Kaka, kaka. The rock segments fell on the ground one by one, and suddenly the light shined into the dim entrance. 3 people got the chance and slipped into the cave at once. The leader of the group, who was around 30 years old and wore a silver warrior uniform, looked cold and arrogant. He glanced at Shiryan and the 2 girls, then jeered. A mere human-level warrior dares to block us. You're going beyond your depth, young man. Big brother, kill them. Another rude young man urged. This cave is only capable of holding 6 people. Our people can't come in if they still stay here. You 3 get out of the cave right now, or I will kill you in no time. The man in silver uniform demanded. You are definitely no match for us. We have 2 human-level and 4 nascent-level warriors. You'd better not waste our time. The 3 warriors who were standing at the opening of the cave looked at Shiryan and Tianyun coldly, seemingly prepared to take action at any time, as a dim light was gradually sent out from their bodies. Big brother, look at the girls, whoa. Another skinny short young man found Tianyun and Muyudai extraordinarily beautiful after he adapted to the dimness in the cave and couldn't help but shout out. Chuck, do you want the girls or our brothers outside the cave? The leader grunted. That skinny young man smiled with embarrassment. Don't be pissed, my brother. I'm just kidding. Of course I want my brothers. Women are everywhere, right? Huh, now that we got so much treasure from the Silver Thunder Wolf's cave, we can get women whenever we want. Haha. Why are you still there? The warrior taking the lead looked hideous suddenly as he was about to fight. Fight! Yalin shouted as she lifted her short sword. There are all demon beasts out of the cave. We would still die even if we get out. Hee, please run away as far as you can and take the demon beasts with you, then we will be safe. That rude young man burst into laughter. Or, do you think you can even be alive here? Sister Lan, let's go out. After a deep breath, Serene calmed down. Then he dragged her, quick. We may escape if we run quickly. It's impossible. Yalin was dragged away by Serene before she could finish her sentence. Muyudai had lifted herself up long ago, thus she walked up after them. As her slim figure passed by that skinny short man, that guy stretched out his hand toward her, but, gorgeous, forgive me. We can be closer if we meet again. Muyudai got frightened and rushed out of the cave as fast as she can. But unfortunately, that guy still touched her slim waist, which made her furious. Outside the cave, the 3 men of Nascent level had been impatient for a long time. Seeing the 3 getting out of the cave, the 3 warriors outside wandered their eyes on Yalin and Muyudai lustfully. Then they walked into the cave reluctantly and complimented, "Brother, there should be 2 beauties. Your martial spirit is so great that you could even sense the cave here from so far away. We wouldn't have managed in collecting so much treasure in the Silver Thunder Wolf's cave if it hadn't been your magical martial spirit. Haha, we really harvested a lot this time. A martial skill of spirit level. We can get what we 6 want with this book when we go back to the God-blessed empire. Then we can own whichever women we are fond of." The rude guy in the cave chuckled. "Thanks to our big brother's martial spirit. It can identify the stream of life in the surroundings. That's too damn good." The 6 of them occupied Serene and his friend's cave and started to discuss softly in it. "You 3, go as far as you can. It's still early enough for you to leave now. Once the demon beasts came, you can in no way escape from them." The leader demanded confidently, "If you are still going to stay at the entrance, please excuse my rudeness." Under the bright moonlight, Serene was wearing an icy and terrifying expression. Terrible demon beasts' howls were coming from all directions. They were just gathering toward this way, for apparently they knew there were humans in this area. Judging from the situation now, this area would be encircled by demon beasts soon. If they left now, they would become those demon beasts' target. Even if they guided the demon beasts to other areas, they would be killed by them eventually. Serene knew clearly that the leader didn't kill them because he wanted them to run away and distract those demon beasts so that those 6 warriors could survive. "Ding Yen, why don't we just have a nasty fight with them? We could also be killed by the demon beasts if we get out of the cave. If we run away, we would die in vain. Why not drag those warriors in with us?" Yalin stared at Serene in rage. For his safety's sake, Serene had told them his name was Ding Yen, though Yalin and Muyudai rarely called him by his full name. However, since Yalin was strongly against Serene's decision, she shouted out his full name. Muyudai turned rather pale, and she said in a miserable voice, "I would rather be killed by the dark world than be eaten up by demon beasts. Sister Lan, let's finish ourselves now and attract those demon beasts here. Come here." Serene frowned as he caught Yalin and Muyudai, separately with each of his hands, to the corner of the entrance, keeping them away from the middle of the opening. "What?" Yalin flew into a rage. "You want to run away, don't you? Run away? Am I such an easygoing person?" Serene broadened his mouth and looked hideous. Abruptly, he took out an iron ball out of his chest and waved it at the girls. Yalin and Muyudai were stunned at first. Soon they realized and smirked, then took several steps away from the opening again. Serene nodded, and as soon as the girls found their positions, he suddenly rushed to the entrance. As he reached the entrance, he swiftly threw the iron ball into the cave and left in an instant. Bang! There was a devastating explosion in the cave as sharp splinters flew in all directions inside, some of which flew out of the cave and cut the bushes outside into pieces. Terrible cries came from the entrance of the cave. Old Steve. Mickey. Brother Teddy. Brother Teddy. Brother Bob. I am hurt. Painful cries, combined with a strong bloody smell, came out of the cave. Serene signaled Yalin and went into the cave again. Yan was looking at the chaos in the cave at the entrance. Ash sneered. Hey everybody? Was it fun? The three men on the ground had turned into honeycombs with wounds all over their bodies. That rude guy was among them, with his head cut through. The leader, that skinny, short man, and another fat guy were still alive. The other three had protected them. Though they too were wounded, those splinters didn't hurt their vital places. Their limbs were filled with bleeding wounds, and the leader seemed badly hurt, for his abdomen was bleeding hard. The cave was so small, and once the star bomb exploded, they had nowhere to hide. If it weren't for those three dead warriors who stood in front of them, there would have been no chance for anyone to survive. I'm gonna strip your skin. Their leader had his eyes split, and he was too angry. Such dense, profound chi. Yan took a deep breath and enjoyed a lot. As he was talking, his muscles contracted slowly and his body got more and more dry. A freezing, insane, AMD murderous smell flew out of Yan's body slowly, forming into a white thin fog, which spread all over him. Chapter 37. The Killing. Chapter 37. The Killing. Inside the cave, there were 3 dead bodies, 3 wounded warriors, and Yan. Yan jumped into the cave. However, he did nothing but simply just stood there, feeling the blowing waves of profound chi coming from those 3 fresh bodies right towards him. The profound chi flew into the 720 meridians of his body. The waves were so strong that his meridians even felt a little pain. Naturally, Yan's body went mad again. All his muscles had shrunken so badly that he suddenly looked even thinner. There was a wave of evil energy quickly spreading from the white smoke covering his whole body. With the coldest and cruelest spirits, this energy quickly fulfilled the entire cave. Those evil spirits seemed to have some bewitching magic power. Once those 3 wounded warriors breathed in some of this white smoke, their mind was instantly fulfilled with a crazy urge of slaughtering as well. You fucking son of a bitch. I'm gonna skin you alive. The leader of them shouted loudly, with a creepy green poppy flower suddenly appearing on his palm. That poppy flower was made purely by his profound chi and looked just as alive, growing and expanding with astonishing speed on his palm. Only within seconds, that green poppy flower had become the size of a cattail leaf, with a freezing light shining in the middle of the bud and a green light diffusing around it. At his sway of hand, that giant poppy flower instantly flew right towards Yan. That poppy flower was like an open bloody mouth. It was trying to bite Yan right on his head, seemingly trying to swallow his entire head into its bud. A roaring sound came out of Yan. He had quickly concentrated the streams of negative energy that he absorbed from those dead warriors, and let that energy out from all the meridians covering his whole body, which soon formed into 3 ghost shadows in front of his body. Those ghost shadows were floating in front of his body in the scariest way, with their eyes filled with utmost endless resentment to this world. Steve. Mickey. Teddy. The thin warrior was instantly filled with horror. He stared, dumbstruck, at those floating ghost shadows Yan had in front of his body and couldn't help screaming. Those 3 ghost shadows looked exactly like those 3 warriors right before they died. The leader was also pretty astonished. He couldn't help but take a step back. However, that creepy poppy flower didn't stop its move and continued to try biting on Yan's head. Break! Yan waved his fist and sent out a web of white smoke which was tangled and concentrated with all kinds of negative energy. Those streams of negative energy combined together into a silver snake and suddenly shot into the center of that poppy flower. Boom! That poppy flower exploded into pieces, with its freezing light suddenly splashing everywhere like a creepy firework. Beautiful but strange. Look out! The leader shouted out. He quickly moved forward and covered the other 2 guys with both of his hands. There were also spots of weird lights shining inside his palms. He waved his hands and surprisingly captured all the freezing light coming towards him all into his chest. Yan had the cruelest look on his face. He started to operate his mind power and petrify his whole body. In this dark cave, his entire body became brown and as tough as the steel. Dozens of freezing dots of light shot towards him again with buzzing sounds. However, they were all blocked by his petrified body. Only a small proportion of the freezing energy filtered into his body through all his petrified muscles. The freezing energy was rushing and bumping inside his body. However, its power was mostly blocked by his petrified muscles. Only after a few seconds, Shiyan's body had already returned to normal and wasn't influenced by the freezing energy anymore. Shiyan! Diyalan rushed into the cave. Seeing Shiyan confronting those three warriors all by himself, she couldn't help but scream and ask him with worry, "Are you okay? Use your blue magic flame to cover for me. Hold back the leader. I will kill the other two Nascent warriors first." Shiyan gave his order with a cruel face. He then started operating his mind. Those three ghost shadows floating in front of him suddenly started rushing towards those three warriors like starving wolves towards its prey. The tiny stone cave could barely hold all these people. Once an attack was launched, there was no room to escape. The opponent could only defend themselves with everything they had. Seeing those three ghost shadows coming towards their way, the three warriors in the cave all seemed pretty terrified. People are naturally intimidated by the unknown. Especially because, 1 minute ago, those three ghost shadows were still their dearest brothers. The three of them tried to escape, but only to find their way already blocked by the stones. There was nowhere for them to go. "Don't be scared," the leader shouted. The freezing light he just withdrew into his chest was transformed and turned into an icy, silver light shield, sheltering the three of them. Shiyan sniffed secretly on the inside and continued to operate his mind power. The three ghost shadows stopped in front of the three warriors. With the silver light shield in between, those ghost shadows waved their fists and started to make terrifying postures such as biting and gobbling, showing all their utmost resentment in their eyes towards those warriors. All kinds of negative energy had gathered into the eyes of those ghost shadows and, through eye contact, flew right into the mind of those three warriors. Almost instantly, as they were impacted by the negative energy, the three warriors felt like they were thrown into the lowest level of the hell. Countless terrifying and screaming ghosts were coming towards their way, dragging them towards the endless hell. There was no way for them to get out. The faces of the three warriors became stiff, and their eyes became lifeless, all with the most terrified look on their face. "Sister Lan, break their ice light shield," Shiyan shouted. Diyalan trembled a little. She didn't give much thought, but quickly threw out her blue magic flame, which she already gotten ready on her palm. The flame turned into an agile phoenix and shot itself into that silver light shield. Chi-chi. The silver light shield was instantly melted under the heat of the blue magic flame. The shield formed by the leader's profound chi was obviously too weak in front of the attack of Diyalan's blue magic flame martial spirit and suddenly cracked a fist-sized hole. The three ghost shadows took advantage of this crack and quickly sneaked in like a light smoke. The ghosts separated and sneaked into the body of the three warriors respectively. Shiyan suddenly rushed forward towards them. He had all his profound chi flowing into his arms like crazy. When he was moving his arms, there was even a deep bursting sound in the air, like a mountain was falling apart. The white mist entangling his iron fist had already concentrated and turned into a layer of pale liquid matter covering his arms, making his bony arm look even more terrifying, like the sharp claw of an evil ghost. Pooh! Shiyan's arm was like a sharp sword, and pierced right through the chest of that thin guy who once mouthed about Mu Dai. He used his fist to punch that guy so hard that he fell onto the wall of that cave with a deep sound. "You're seeking death, you fucking bastard." The human-level leader warrior suddenly woke up in the middle of his nightmare. Seeing another one of his brothers miserably die in front of his eyes, he couldn't help but shout with anger. He generated a huge silver light ball on his palm and pushed it hard towards Shiyan's chest. There was an overwhelming gravity falling towards Shiyan, which, combining with the freezing cold ice power, exploded all of a sudden on Shiyan's chest. Dang! 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 Shiyan had to step back some distance before he could stabilize his body. He just took the full blow of tough a warrior at the human level right on his chest. However, Yan's chest only hurt a little after taking the hit. He checked his body for a second only to see his body completely intact. That icy blow only froze his chest a little, but didn't manage to hurt him. So this is the second stage of the petrification martial spirit. How awesome is that? Yan was actually wildly laughing on the inside. He kept operating his own profound qi, guiding it rapidly through his own veins and vessels in his chest. His profound qi was like a warm stream of energy, quickly recovering his chest from the freezing light attack by blowing within his veins and vessels. Tianyun, with a dagger in hand, rushed to the front, fighting with the leader. Her phoenix made of the blue magic flames was her strongest power, fighting against the leader together with her. The blue flame phoenix could not only counter all the freezing power that the warrior threw out, but could also control some of his creepy attacks. Are you guys all right? Muyudai entered the cave with both hands covering her nose. When she stepped inside, she almost puked instantly due to the strong bloody smell. Pile up the bodies, Yan ordered with a frown. He didn't wait for Muyudai to respond before he quickly rushed towards the other nascent warrior who was still drowning in his nightmares, just like a haunting ghost. No! Little Joe. The leader suddenly changed the look on his face. He instantly screamed out anxiously. Even in his wildest dreams, he could not imagine that this guy in front of him, who was merely a nascent warrior, could take on his full blow and not only survive, but also fight back again. But he himself was a warrior of the human level who had already reached the second sky. Brother Trump. Hearing his name being called, that unconscious warrior suddenly woke up and couldn't help but scream. But this was also the last sound that he would ever make in this world. The next moment, he stopped screaming as his back bumped hard onto the stone wall and blood came out through all his meridians. Yan's body was as forceful as a mountain because of the scary explosion power that he got from going mad. He simply just bumped this guy to death onto the stone wall, and all of his bones broke into pieces. No! Little Joe. The leader couldn't help but howl. Seeing all his brothers die in such a horrible way one after another right in front of his eyes, he started to regret entering this cave for the first time. He regretted that he ever provoked Yan, this mad slaughterer, regretted even setting foot into the dark forest. Miss Mu, quick, pile up these bodies. Yan took a harsh look on Muyudai, who had already completely lost her mind, and said with a cold voice, "If you don't want to die, then move quickly." Muyudai couldn't help but tremble. Under those cold-blooded eyes of Yan, she had to kneel down to deal with all these nasty bloody bodies and move these ugly broken body parts to a corner of the stone cave, piling them up one by one. Yan, come help me. Tianyun screamed, "This guy's profound qi is too strong. I cannot handle him for much longer." The demon beasts started to gather outside the stone cave, with waves of roaring and howling coming towards them. It seemed that before long, this valley would be covered with demon beasts. Of course Tianyun understood the value of time. They must finish this fight and kill the leader as soon as possible. "I'll be right there." Yan rushed forward and stood right in front of Tianyun facing the leader. Boom! The silver freezing light appeared again on the palm of the leadery, with another strike shooting right at Yan's chest. Hey! Yan put on a scary grin on his face. With the help of his petrification martial spirit, which had already reached the second stage, he took this hit just fine. Now this leader was forced into a corner of the stone cave. There was no way for him to escape. The phoenix made by the blue magic flame took the chance and also flew over. It soon landed on the shoulder of the leader. The flames surrounded and spread rapidly on the guy's shoulders just like a tendril of vines. Soon there was the smell of burning flesh on his shoulders. The flames became stronger and stronger, and then spread from his shoulders to his abdomen, then to his waist, until burning his little brother under the belt. Ah! The lead guy started to scream with great pain. He started to hit Yan like crazy, desperate to break Yan's defense and get out of this cave. You tried so hard to get in, but now you want to leave? Hey, too late for that. Yan put on his dark light shield and used his petrification martial spirit to block all his crazy attacks with a mocking grin on his face. Despite his terribly thin body, Shi was standing there like a steady stone. No matter how hard the attacks were, he just stood there without moving an inch. Tianyun found an opportunity to get in. With her dagger in hand, she pierced one leg of the leader almost within a second. Please don't kill me. I've got the treasures we stole from the cave of the Silver Thunder Wolf. Please just let me go. I will give them all to you. Please. The leader screamed and begged with his twisted face. I will take the treasures, and your life as well. Shi put on a scary grin. Countless streams of white smoke suddenly wrapped tightly around this guy's body. And with this man's most terrified screams, Shi pierced his throat with one finger. The leader soon lost the light in his eyes. His body also started to become soft and fell onto the ground slowly. Shi didn't take another look on that man's body. He quickly turned around and looked at Mu Dai with a scary face. He cursed in a cold voice, so useless. Still haven't finished with these bodies? Mu Dai was already pretty upset. She was trying very hard at dealing with these bodies. For a girl who hated nasty stuff like this, it was not an easy task to pile up all these bodies. Don't even expect her to be extra efficient, which was almost impossible. Shi didn't waste a lot words on her. He simply sniffed and piled up all the bodies himself with a frown on his face and blood all over his hands. He said with a cold voice, "The demon beasts are coming towards this valley together. Whether we can survive this still depends on God's will." Chapter 38. Spirit Level Martial Skills. Chapter 38. Spirit Level Martial Skills. Inside the cave, the bodies were piled up with all of their profound chi wiped clean. Under the influence of Shi mysterious martial spirit, the bodies were not only drained of all their profound chi, but even the blood inside the corpses had solidified within a very short time. With all their blood solidified, the bloody smell that once filled the entire cave was not as strong as before. However, Shi was still not satisfied with this. After thinking it over, he quickly took out a packet of medicinal powder from his backpack and sprayed it all around the cave without hesitation. This medicinal powder was called cleansing powder, which had an extraordinary absorbing power, capable of capturing all the little impurities floating in the air, including toxins, smell, and poisonous smoke. After using one packet of cleansing powder, the remaining bloody smell in the cave was instantly wiped clean like magic. After capturing the bloody smell floating in the air, the cleansing powder had become dozens of little red particles which looked just like drops of blood, micronized into little atoms falling onto the ground. I need to find something to hide the cave entrance. Although that bloody smell in the cave was now under control, Shi was still a little bit worried. He started to cover the cave entrance with the nearby bushes and twigs. Although the battle between the two groups was for the cave, both knew of the importance of the nearby foliage. As such, none of the nearby vegetation was moved or destroyed when approaching the cave. However, with the eruption of the star bomb, the bushes at the cave entrance were damaged and cut into pieces. Fortunately, the bushes near the cave entrance were still intact. Now what Shi needed to do was to move the bushes on each side to the middle of the cave entrance to perfectly cover the entire opening. Shi was breathing smoothly and paying great attention to his movements. He was acting with great caution and moving the bushes and leaves towards the entrance of the cave slowly, inch by inch, for fear that the demon beasts outside would discover something strange in this place. With the roaring of the demon beasts getting more and more frequent, they sensed that God knows how many demon beasts had gathered in the valley outside the cave. Shi had a serious look on his face and was acting extremely nervous. Sweat was secretly coming out of his forehead. Even his back started to become wet with sweat. When he finally dragged the last large bush into the cave entrance, even his arms were slightly trembling, as if he had made huge efforts to finish this job. "Are you okay?" Tianyun asked with care. "It's nothing. I'm just a little tired." Shi shook his head. His face had turned extraordinarily pale. He stopped to think for a moment and then said, "You two be careful later. If we are ever found by those demon beasts, you must make every effort to guard the cave entrance." Tianyun nodded and added with care, "Yeah, I get it. But what on earth has happened to you?" I just saw you kicking the ass of that warrior of the human level with my own eyes, but how come you've become so weak right now? It's exactly because I made such great efforts to fight with him that I've become so weak right now. Serene sat down with his legs crossed and refused to give any more explanation. At this critical time, surprisingly, he closed his eyes to rest. This was actually the side effect of Rampage kicking off inside his body. Every time he performed Rampage, his body would suffer great pressure. The Rampage martial skill required the excitation of all kinds of negative energy within one's meridians. The power of Rampage served as a double-edged sword, giving you power far beyond your own level for a very short amount of time, but on the other hand, also making you more exhausted afterwards. After all, those negative energies were way too evil and creepy. When these negative energies spilled over from his meridians, they were hurting his body as well. Every time when he finished Rampage, he would be wrapped in waves of exhaustion, weakening his body very quickly. Sitting right there in the cave, Serene felt that both his arms and legs were weak and powerless. The meridians all over his body were also hurting like hell. The profound chi he absorbed from those 6 fresh corpses had also rushed into his meridians, filling his body with wave after wave of strong power. While his meridians were processing and purifying this profound chi with high speed, the negative energies would take advantage of this to sneak out and slowly rot his mind and sanity. At this moment, he couldn't do anything that required effort. His meridians were still busy processing and purifying all this new profound chi. If he couldn't relax his body, he wouldn't be able to achieve a quality recovery at all. Therefore, he made a sensible decision to leave everything else alone. He just sat still, keeping a peaceful mind for the recovery. Seeing him sitting and resting with both eyes closed, the other 2 women, Tianyun and Muyudai, also looked pretty serious. They concentrated on observing the movements outside the cave. The demon beasts were still moving inside the valley. There were even some demon beasts around their cave, and they seemed to be searching for something. Both Muyudai and Tianyun were guarding the entrance of the cave very nervously. They didn't dare to take any chance to relax. Tianyun was holding her dagger firmly in her hand, looking outside warily through the gaps between the bushes covering the cave entrance, fearing that some demon beast would suddenly jump in. They were both aware that demon beasts had an extremely sensitive sense of smell. They were worried that those beasts might find them through the bloody smell in the air. They knew that once their cave was discovered by any of those demon beasts, they had to guard this cave no matter what the price was. Dang! Dang! A 3-headed hound was coming towards them with its 3 giant heads shaking in the air. It seemed to have found something. Its 6 eyes on its 3 heads were scanning around as if it had discovered something unusual. Oh, crap! Tianyun suddenly changed the look on her face, grabbing her dagger even more firmly in her hand. With sweat pouring out of her palm, she focused on the 3-headed hound with all of her attention and didn't dare to move her eyes away for a second. Tianyun was already extremely tense and was ready to start a fight at any time. The 3-headed hound was a level 3 demon beast, equaling a human warrior of the human level, which was pretty tough to deal with. Moreover, this demon beast possessed an extraordinarily sharp sense of smell. The bloody smell inside the cave might be able to fool other demon beasts, but it could not necessarily hide from this 3-headed hound. Due to her anxiety, Tianyun's entire body became stiff and tense. Her hand which held the dagger was also shaking slightly, which meant that her profound chi was moving very fast through her veins and vessels. Ah! Right at that moment, a howl from the silver thunder wolf came from the distance, which alerted the whole valley and outmatched all the roaring and shouting of the other demon beasts. I am Gan Shao from the Medicine Valley. I came to the dark forest simply to collect medicine for myself. I have never stepped into your cave. Silver Thunder Wolf, I know you are good, but I am not afraid of you. If you continue to harass and kill my people, I will not let you go easy. A low dark voice came from the distance. Ah! The Silver Thunder Wolf started howling again in the distance. Hearing this howling sound, the 3-headed hound, which was about to approach the cave where the 3 of them were hiding, suddenly stopped right there. It paused a little and quickly turned around and started running towards the howling of the Silver Thunder Wolf in high speed. Upon the howling of the silver thunder wolf, the demon beasts gathered in the valley were also starting to take off, leaving the valley for the silver thunder wolf. The silver thunder wolf and Gonsha seemed about to have a huge fight. Tianyun suddenly relaxed. She felt so weak that she sat right down on the ground with her body covered with sweat. If only that three-headed hound had moved a little further forward, maybe even a couple of meters, then their cave would have definitely be compromised. And once that three-headed hound had discovered the cave, the other demon beasts in the valley would most definitely have followed it over here as well. If that really happened, there was no way that the three of them could have ever escaped those demon beasts. Sister Lan, are you okay? Muyudai was wiping the sweat off her forehead with a handkerchief stained with blood. She also sat down on the ground with the stone wall behind her. It's okay. Tianyun smiled softly, but still sighed. We were very lucky back then. If the silver thunder wolf didn't have its eyes on Gon Shao from the Medicine Valley and didn't suddenly call for all the demon beasts to gather around it, I am afraid that we wouldn't have been able to make it through this. Yeah, I was also pretty scared just now. Muyudai's pretty face also looked quite pale. She added in a low voice, I was even prepared to commit suicide back then. Don't ever have that thought unless we have no other options. Serene sniffed. He suddenly opened his eyes and ordered with a frown, if you have no better things to do, how about searching through the bags and pockets of those 6 warriors, just to see what kind of treasure they had stolen from the cave of that silver thunder wolf. Hearing him saying this, Tianyun's eyes suddenly lit up. She agreed with excitement. That's right. The silver thunder wolf is a level 7 demon beast, a top-level creature within the dark forest. It is said that the silver thunder wolf is a highly intelligent creature and that it has killed dozens of high-level warriors in the dark forest. It must have collected many treasures from those dead warriors and stored them inside its cave. The treasures those warriors have stolen must be extraordinary. I heard that there is a practice method for a spirit-level martial skill, Shuryen said with a cool voice. Tianyun replied with her face filled with joy and her beautiful eyes lit up with excitement. Spirit-level martial skills are very rare. Even for the royal families from our Fire Empire, there are only 5 kinds of spirit-level martial skills. Any practice method for a spirit-level martial skill would be worth millions, and countless big families would even be willing to kill for it. Then you should really search through them very carefully. Shuryen nodded and closed his eyes again, seemingly having something on his mind. Of course he knew how precious so-called spirit-level martial skills were. Across the Fire Empire, the God-blessed Empire, and the Merchant Union, there were around 100 warriors who had reached the Earth level and the Nirvana level for a warrior. However, among all these 100 warriors, those with spirit-level martial skills only counted for a quarter of those warriors. And among that quarter, some were even studying and practicing the same kind of spirit-level martial skills. According to the rumor, across the Fire Empire, the God-blessed Empire, and the Merchant Union, there were only 18 kinds of spirit-level martial skills that were already known to the humankind. And each and every kind of those spirit-level martial skills were all possessed by various powerful families or warriors that ruled their own little kingdoms, such as the Sure family. The Sure family had possessed various kinds of martial skills, such as for the mortal level and the sacred level. However, it only had one kind of martial skill of the spirit level, which the master of the family, Sure Jian, believed to be the most precious family treasure. Even his own descendants had no idea where he had kept that spirit-level martial skill. It seems we are in huge luck. Tianyun's eyes were filled with joy. She dug out the backpack of the warrior leader with excitement and didn't waste any time opening it. A strong wave of silver light started to shine out from his backpack. The stone cave that was once buried in darkness was suddenly lit up and became as bright as the outside. Wow! Chapter 39. 3 Types of Flames. Chapter 39. 3 Types of Flames. 3 shining crystals appeared from the bag and brightly lit the cave. One of them was rhombus-shaped and the other 2 were oval-shaped. They all looked crystal clear and were diffusing waves. Obviously, there was an extraordinary energy hidden within them. Demon crystals. Di Yalin screamed with joy. Ah! Miyudai shouted after her and said joyfully, "Seems we are so lucky that we've been bestowed with demon crystals. Hehe, if we can get out of the dark forest alive, we could spend the rest of our lives in luxury with these 3 demon crystals." Di Yalin squatted and began to examine the 3 demon crystals carefully. After a long time, she observed, "They must be from level 6 demon beasts, but I can hardly tell what demon beasts they are from." Sister Lan, I have heard that demon beasts can directly absorb the energy in demon crystals. The Silver Thunder Wolf owned these demon crystals. Why didn't it take the energy inside of them to strengthen itself? It is said that the Silver Thunder Wolf gave birth to a pup, and the best way for it to grow up is to absorb the energy in demon crystals. If it is true, then I guess the 3 demon crystals from these level 6 demon beasts were prepared by the Silver Thunder Wolf for its pup. Could be. The energy in demon crystals is the best material for alchemists and blacksmiths. They can easily tell what demon beast the demon crystal is from in just one look. 3 demon crystals. We can have 1 each, right? I didn't help, so I can't take 1. Miyudai shook her head, and she took a glimpse at Shuryen, who was training with his eyes closed. I think you 2 should share them. If it hadn't been for me, you wouldn't have got into trouble. Let's discuss this after he wakes up. Di Yalin frowned and continued to dig in the bag. Ah! With another exclamation, Di Yalin took out a transparent jade bottle from the bag which was on the ground. She suddenly lost her train of thought as she stared at the red liquid inside. The liquid in the jade bottle was like a flame. As Di Yalin shook it gently, the flame also danced to the rhythm. Di Yalin seemed to recall something as she stared at the liquid in the jade bottle. After a long time, Di Yalin's thin body trembled and she screamed, "Earth Core Flame Essence." Congratulations, Sister Lan. Miyudai was stunned at first, then she realized something and yelled happily, "Sister Lan, it will benefit you the most." Haha. You really harvested a lot from this journey. You have not only awoken your martial spirit, but you've also gotten this Earth Core Flame Essence. Di Yalin was so delighted that she couldn't help but keep nodding her head excitedly as she shook the jade bottle in her hand. She babbled incoherently, I've never expected that I would be so lucky. Huh. It's Earth Core Flame Essence. Just then, Shuryen finished 3 big circulations after training silently for a long time. He opened his eyes and asked, "This Earth Core Flame Essence, what does it have to do with you?" What? How come you don't know about Earth Core Flame Essence? Di Yalin exclaimed in surprise, "It is common sense." Hell, are you a warrior or not? Shuryen was quite indifferent. I'm all ears. Do you know there are 3 types of flames? As in sky, earth, and human? Not really. What? You don't even know about that? Nope. Di Yalin shook her head bitterly, for she totally had no idea about Shuryen. After a short pause, she explained leisurely, the 3 types of flames refer to human flames, earth flames, and sky flames. Human flames, like my blue magic flame, are the magical flames in human warriors, which is a vital factor for alchemists and blacksmiths to train with. Every high-level alchemist or blacksmith owns a human flame because only it can raise their skill to the highest. Shuryen nodded without a reply and didn't move his eyes away from Di Yalin. After a short hesitation, Di Yalin added, Earth flames and sky flames exist between the earth and sky, such as the earth core flame in the center of the earth and the volcano core flame from the bottom of a volcano, and are formed naturally. The difference between earth flames and sky flames is that the latter has a consciousness. What does that mean? Shuryen was intrigued. Natural flames without a consciousness are called earth flames, which are regarded as a treasure like precious stones. As for a sky flame, it can think, just like humankind. It is immortal and has magical power, which is the most special life entity in this world. Some sky flames were formed at the beginning of the Grace mainland. Though Shuryen still looked indifferent, this stirred a storm in his mind. He was a foreigner to this world, and all the knowledge he obtained from his own world was totally different from that of this world. Before, he had never thought that these flames could even think and have wisdom. Hearing that, Shuryen got to know the magical charm of this world more profoundly. In this world, He met many mysterious things which he had never even dreamt of, such as martial spirits, demon beasts, and so forth. So this earth core flame essence is an earth flame? After thinking for a long while, Shuryen finally asked. This is the leftover liquid after an earth core flame turned into a sky flame. It's neither earth flame nor sky flame, but something in between. An earth flame can turn into a sky flame? Shuryen was shocked again. Of course, millions of years is a long time. Over time, earth flames have the chance to gain consciousnesses and turn into a sky flame, but the possibility is very small. Not all earth flames have the chance for evolution. Tianyun was amused, but this is the liquid left behind before the earth core flame turned into a sky flame. This liquid is very precious for people owning human flames. How precious? It can enhance the human flame and improve one's martial spirit. Tianyun was so joyful that she was almost about to dance. A human flame is from one's body and can't be hotter than the flames in nature. Only top-level warriors can make their human flames as hot as those in the natural world after strengthening them several times. Got it? Shuryen nodded, so this liquid can enhance your blue magic flame and give it the temperature of an earth flame. That's it. Tianyun nodded vigorously and stared at him with her shining eyes. After a hesitation, she said in shame, well, don't worry. It's yours. Tianyun was delighted. She felt that she gained some extra advantage and wanted to say something. Shuryen replied peacefully, Earth core flame essence is of no use for me and I don't even possess a martial spirit. What do I need it for? Just take it with you. But you can trade for any valuable medicine you want from the 3 medicine kings in Medicine Valley with this liquid. Well, you keep it then. Shuryen frowned and said casually there was a book on the martial skills of spirit level. Hearing Shuryen's reminder, Tianyun began to search in the bag again hurriedly. This is it. Tianyun took out a dark yellow ancient book. She glanced at it and said, I can't read these ancient characters. We need to find some specialists to translate it for us. Let me have a look. Shuryen asked for the book naturally as he stretched out his hand. The previous owner of Shuryen's body was a big fan of ancient things. Though he knew nothing about martial arts, he was much better than most so-called scholars in this world when it came to ancient languages and historic sites. Shuryen took a glimpse at the ancient letters on the book cover as soon as he got the reddish ancient book and mumbled the word naturally, gravitational field. Chapter 40. Sharing the Treasure. Chapter 40. Sharing the Treasure. You know these ancient letters? Tianyun couldn't help but shout in surprise. Yeah, just a little. Shuryen nodded, but he didn't take a closer look at the contents of the book. He just held the book in his arms casually and said with a cool voice, You take the bottle of Earth Core Flame Essence, and I will take this practice book for spirit-level martial skills. Tianyun nodded to show her agreement. The bottle of Earth Core Flame Essence was indeed extremely precious for her. She was already on top of the world with that little bottle of liquid in her hand. But what about these 3 demon crystals? After a while, Tianyun asked again. And this time, while she was talking, she gave a quick glimpse to Muyu Dai on her side, with a pretty complicated message in her eyes. Shuryen had already got his book of spirit-level martial skill, which was obviously worth millions. However, until now, only Muyu Dai hadn't got anything. Those 3 demon crystals were apparently not as valuable as the Earth Core Flame Essence or the skill book. Therefore, Tianyun intended to give those demon crystals to Muyu Dai. However, she was worried that Shuryen might be against this decision. That's why she said this to gauge Shuryen's reaction. Then give them to Miss Mu. I'm okay with that. Of course Shuryen knew what Tianyun was up to. He said calmly, We cannot leave Miss Mu with nothing. We have both got what we want. How about giving those 3 demon crystals to Miss Mu? Sure, I'm also fine with this. Tianyun smiled with satisfaction. She was quite glad to see Shuryen being so understanding and considerate. Muyu Dai looked a little surprised at Shuryen's words. She stared at Shuryen for a moment, and then shook her head and replied with an awkward smile, I didn't do anything helpful and have been depending on your protection all this time. I cannot take these 3 demon crystals. Tianyun wanted to say something but hesitated. No, I cannot take them. Muyudai looked pretty determined. She shook her head firmly and started to tease herself. I have become a burden for you. You almost lost your lives protecting me. How can I take these 3 demon crystals? Sister Lan, Ding Yan, I know you are being very kind to me, but I would feel ashamed to take these demon crystals. Then just take one of them. Shi Yan said after some hesitation. Anyway, you must take one of these demon crystals. We cannot take such advantage of you. Yes, at least take one of them. Di Yalin also insisted. Seeing the two of them both insisting on this, Miyudai found it very hard to deny their kindness anymore. She nodded after some hesitation and said, well, thanks a lot for your generosity. Shi Yan stopped talking and closed his eyes again, going back to operate the profound qi inside his body for recovery. When he cleared his mind and concentrated on the inside, he could clearly feel the changes going on in his body. He didn't know why, but somehow, just by sitting there, he could feel the pain and soreness in his muscles were quickly disappearing. Shi Yan cleared his mind and focused himself completely on the changes his body was going through. Suddenly, there was a flash of lightning in his mind. His spirit suddenly lit up and it seemed he had realized something. This is the immortal martial spirit. Inside his body, his flesh, muscles, bones, veins, organs, and entrails were all undergoing subtle changes. The immortal martial spirit had been secretly repairing his body in a way that he could never understand. His weakness due to breaking out of rampage was also gradually returning to normal. Shi Yan was extremely surprised. He realized that the immortal martial spirit could not only recover his wounds, but also offset most of the side effects that he had been suffering from rampage. Without the help of the immortal martial spirit, he was almost certain that he would be unable to confront any opponents for the next 3 days after using rampage. However, thanks to the immortal martial spirit, this was no longer the case. With the help of the immortal martial spirit, the soreness and fatigue in his body was slowly disappearing. Judging from the condition of his body right now, it would at most take 1 more day for him to recover half of his power. There would be no problem for him to engage in another fight with the enemy then. However, just at that moment when he was gloating in secret, a sudden strong wave of evil and crazy killing intent flared up from the bottom of his heart. This explosion of his negative energy was as fierce as a tsunami and was more destructive than ever. Streams of energy mixed with desperation, fear, and resentment were rushing out from the meridians all over his body. They had transformed into waves of spiritual power, roaring through his mind, corrupting his thoughts with an overwhelming force, and altering his morals and personality. This time, he had absorbed the profound qi from all 4 nascent warriors as well as the 2 warriors of the human level. When the 6 of them breathed their last breath, Shi Yan was right there with them in this stone cave. Therefore, he had captured all the profound qi coming from the 6 warriors without missing a drop, which was way thicker and stronger than all the profound qi that he had absorbed before. Therefore, the backlash this time was also fiercer than ever. Although Shi Yan was still sitting there, his breath started to get heavier and heavier, and his body started to tremble slightly. His body was wrapped in a thick web of killing intent, making him appear even more evil to the others. After a few minutes, he guessed that he couldn't resist this force anymore. He suddenly opened his eyes and stared at Di Yalin with desire burning in his eyes. He said in a very low voice, "I'm having that weird thing happen to my body again." Di Yalin was stunned for 1 moment and then quickly blushed all of a sudden. She said to Muyudai in a low voice, "Dai, you turn around and don't look." Muyudai's face also quickly went red. She bit her lips a little, turned to the entrance of the cave with her back towards those 2 people, and said, "You 2 be quiet. Please don't draw the attention of those demon beasts here. I'll be staying here at the entrance." Di Yalin answered with a very low voice and then quickly threw herself into Shi Yan's arms. Shortly after, inside the cave, a slapping rhythm could be heard. After a long time, with a deep moaning and trembling of the body, Shi Yan released his climax inside Di Yalin's body. From the meridians all over his body, there suddenly sprung streams of magical power. This strange power was wandering around inside his body randomly, with only a small part of it shooting into Tianyun's body together with his essence. Most of the strange power was still rushing and bumping around inside his veins and vessels, filling his entire body. Serene suddenly opened his eyes. He pulled up his pants and left Tianyun, who was still enjoying her moment of bliss, lying on the ground. He quickly went towards Muyudai and said, "Miss Mu, quick, come here." Muyudai was completely shocked by his actions and couldn't help moving back. Her pretty face instantly went pale. She cried out with horror, "No. Don't come close. The magical power inside my body has just spilled out a little." Serene was moving towards Muyudai with a heavy panting and said impatiently, "I am trying my best to control it right now. Let me try and see if I can share some of it with you in order to help you recover your broken veins and muscles inside your body." "No way." Muyudai started screaming, "No, no, no, I'm not ready yet. I don't want to do that with you. Don't come close." "I didn't mean that." Serene roared with a low voice. He could feel the magical power split into dozens of streams, roaming around inside his body across his muscles, veins, flesh, and blood, nurturing his martial spirits and profound chi in his abdomen, respectively. With this speed, before long, this magical power would be dispersed all over his body and absorbed entirely. Serene was concentrating more than ever right now. He forcibly blocked a small part of the strange power inside his arm. He was hanging on to this magical power very tightly and planned to inject this part of the power into Muyudai's body through the spillover of his profound chi. Seeing Muyudai continuously backing away, Serene got extremely impatient. He suddenly took a step forward and grabbed Muyudai tightly into his arms. With the soft and nicely curved body of Muyudai suddenly taken into his arms, a refreshing and sweet fragrance instantly kissed his face tenderly, making his spirit excited all of a sudden. "Let go of me." Muyudai didn't buy Serene's theory at all. She was hitting Serene's chest intensely with her little fists and struggling with all her might. However, with all of her veins and muscles broken, she couldn't manage to use her profound chi smoothly. With all her power being void, she was no different from a weak, fragile little girl and couldn't break out of Serene's arms even a little. "Stop struggling. Just be quiet." Serene locked up his arms even tighter and forced her delicious and delicate body tightly against his own, leaving her no room to struggle. At that moment, Serene made the magical power inside his arms quickly rush towards his wrists, all the way through his palms, and into the veins and muscles on Muyudai's back. "Now, try your best to move this power to your broken veins and muscles. Quick!" With Muyudai locked up in his arms, Serene quickly whispered into her delicate ears. Muyudai's ears twitched a lot, and her sweet body couldn't help trembling. She was silently cursing Serene as a bastard in her heart. However, she clearly felt two strange waves of power flowing into her body through Serene's palms and circling inside the veins and muscles in her back. Under Serene's harsh order, Muyudai finally became quiet and stopped her struggling. She started to make her best efforts to feel the magical power inside her body, take control of it, and use it for the recovery of her broken veins and muscles. Holding Muyudai tightly in his arms, feeling the delicious curves of her body, smelling the sweet fragrance from her body, Serene was suddenly distracted and starting to entertain some dirty thoughts in his mind. He couldn't help the excitement coming from his lower body. "Ah!" Muyudai screamed with embarrassment. She said in a hurry with a blushed face, "Let go of me now. You, acting like this. I cannot calm myself down. Well, I will let you go for now." Serene knew that this was not the right time for him to take advantage of her. He nodded and slightly kissed Muyudai's cheek. "I will take this as a reward for offering you this magical power as a gift." After these words, Serene released Muyudai from his arms and took a few steps back. He then sat down against the stone wall and slowly closed his eyes. Muyudai's entire face was completely red. She was both embarrassed and annoyed at the same time. She glared at Serene with anger and cursed, "You dirty bastard." After this, with her beautiful bosoms heaving up and down, Muyudai took a few deep breaths before finally calming down. She understood that given this critical situation, she couldn't afford to waste any time on blaming Shiryan. She also quickly sat down and tried to use the magical power that she got from Shiryan to restore the broken veins and muscles inside her body. Chapter 41. The Third Sky of Nascent Level. Chapter 41. The Third Sky of Nascent Level. It was silent outside the valley. The demon beasts had left a long time ago. It was already daytime, as the sunlight filtered into the cave through thick bushes like fire. The three were training cross-legged on the ground with steady breaths. Not knowing how much time had passed, Shiryan woke up from the serenity. He stood up, stretched his neck, and tried to move his body. The third sky of nascent level. With a deep breath, Shiryan felt refreshed and his fatigue disappeared at once, while his senses became much more accurate. With the help of the magical power, Shiryan's training speed advanced as fast as a shooting arrow, and he increased to the third sky of nascent level at once. Standing at the entrance of the cave, he was dimly able to perceive the spiritual scent between the sky and the earth. He couldn't smell the spiritual scent in the air before, but now it was all so clear to him that he could sense it easily. To perceive the spiritual scent in the air was something only third sky of nascent level warriors could manage. Once he perceived the spiritual scent, he could train his martial skills faster with its help. As soon as he willed it, his body turned as hard as iron immediately, while his skin turned dark brown and was covered with a vague black light, which was similar to the state when he operated his black light shield. Shiryan was a little surprised. After a careful examination, he was certain that he wasn't even utilizing his black light shield with profound qi. This was to say, the dark light covering the skin was merely the reaction to reaching the second stage of petrification martial spirit. He smiled after further examination, knowing that the magical change to his skin must have something to do with his martial spirit. It was rather bright in the cave now. Shiryan's black eyes blinked and began to wander to Muyu Dai and Di Yalin's bodies. Muyu Dai and Di Yalin were still sitting on the ground cross-legged with tightly closed eyes. There was a vague light moving around their bodies, as their profound qi operated in their bodies along specific paths. He had injected part of the magical power into Muyu Dai's body because he wanted to know if this magical power could be passed on to others without sexual intercourse. And also, he wanted more help. He was not sure how many foes he would meet during the upcoming journey. It would affect their travel if Muyu Dai still needed protection. As Di Yalin had said, Muyu Dai was also a warrior before her tendons broke. If Muyu Dai recovered, it would be very beneficial for their journey ahead. Because of those thoughts, he gave that small part of the magical power to her. Holding his breath, Shiryan focused his attention on Muyu Dai. Suddenly, he felt a strong profound qi circulating in her body. A little surprised, he couldn't help but take several glances at her. After a further thought, he got even more confused. To his amazement, Muyu Dai's profound qi was more refined than Di Yalin's, which meant Muyu Dai was a higher level than Di Yalin. Shiryan was really shocked. He knew Muyu Dai was a warrior too, but he thought she was no more than nascent level. After all, Muyu Dai was much younger than Di Yalin, thus there was no way she could be a higher-leveled warrior than Di Yalin. But it turned out to be quite the opposite. Shiryan finally realized that Muyu Dai was already a human-level warrior at such young age. It was an entire level higher than Di Yalin. As he was standing there stunned, he acutely felt that Muyu Dai's profound qi was calming down gradually. He knew that Muyu Dai was about to wake up. As expected, before long, Muyu Dai's eyelashes shook and she opened her eyes slowly. Too clean and bright, I suddenly observed the cave, and Muyu Dai's delicate little face lit up. She looked like an extremely beautiful and attractive angel in the wood. Shiryan was dumbstruck as he gazed at such a beautiful creature. He couldn't even think straight. Done staring, Muyu Dai looked indifferent as she stood up slowly. After stretching herself, she chuckled, "From now on, I'm not your burden anymore." Streams of thin white light flew out from her arms as she was stretching her body. The light soon disappeared in the air. As Muyu Dai moved her fingers slowly in the air, the light showed up again little by little and began to shuttle between her smooth fingers. I haven't played my zither for so long. Need to practice now. Muyudai smiled. That smile was like a clean brook in a valley, serene, empty, and intoxicating. You are much prettier than before. Gazing at her for a long while, Shiryen uttered. With her veins connected and the profound chi of the top of human level flowing in the body, her skin became extremely translucent, while her face turned rosy and her eyes brightened. Muyudai looked so confident that nothing in the world could terrify her. With her strength regained, Muyudai seemed to have turned into another person that she was much more attractive than before. At this moment, in Shiryen's eyes, Muyudai was literally far prettier than Diyalan and Mo Yenyu. Both her level and temperament transcended those two girls. Thanks. Muyudai smiled casually. How long has it been? 2 days, I guess. Shiryen hesitated. I'm not sure either. I just feel that we have stayed in the cave for more than 1 day. You recovered. Yes. Muyudai nodded confidently. Let's leave this cave and set off after Sister Lan wake up. Okay. Shiryen replied casually and felt a little bitter. Before, though Muyudai was too naive and too kind, she was quite adorable, just like a lovely little sister. Though Muyudai became more attractive after regaining her energy, her cuteness disappeared, and on the contrary, she made Shiryen feel some holiness from her, which made Shiryen a little disappointed. Disappointed, Shiryen didn't bother to say anything. Instead, he walked out of the cave and began to wander in the valley. Taking out the book, Gravitational Field on Spirit-Level Martial Skills out of his bag, he turned the pages randomly. Without reading it carefully, he put the book into the bag scrupulously. He was now sure that there were letters in the book. Spirit-level martial skills could only be trained by warriors of at least Earth level. But he was just a nascent-level warrior now, which was a long way from Earth level. Without advancing, to train with the spirit-level martial at a low warrior level would only disturb one's mind. Because of that reason, Shiryen put the book away after he was assured it was authentic. A half-day later, Diyalan and Muyudai walked out of the cave together. They were clean, dressed, and high-spirited, ready to set off. Kid, thank you. I've stabilized my level now, Diyalan said loudly after she got out. It was rather dangerous a short time after one reached a new level. The warrior needed to strengthen his profound chi as soon as possible, or he would be hurt in fights and training while his level was still unstable. The essence from Shiryen took effect again in Muyudai's body, which stabilized her level and enabled her to fight without any fear of backlash. Well then, let's set off. Not intending to boast, Shiryen smiled naturally and guided them out of the valley. 7 days later, the three of them finally stepped out of the enormous dark forest. Looking at the huge ancient trees behind them, they all felt themselves lucky survivors of a disaster. In those 7 days, they never got into any danger. The warriors and mercenaries in the dark forest had either died or were wounded, not daring to stay in that dangerous area. The demon beasts led by the Silver Thunder Wolf had also calmed down and didn't show up again. Since the demon beasts and mercenaries were quiet, their journey became magically smooth. Without meeting any obstacles, they went through the most dangerous area and stepped out of the dark forest. They need to pass Silent Town if they were going to the Merchant Union, and they must cross the wide stone woods to get to the Silent Woods. The stones in the stone woods were all grotesque in shape, which were either as big as a mountain or as small as a human. In addition, there were also many stone caves, which were natural shelters. There were always brutal warriors lurking in the stone woods, killing and trading. Those walking out of the dark forest were trade caravans, or warriors and mercenaries who were seeking adventure. Merchants from foreign countries must have goods with them, while those adventurous warriors and mercenaries, who could get out of the dark forest alive, must have medicines and materials from demon beasts. These people all had something valuable with them. Therefore, there were people hiding in the stone woods for years, who would show up if they found their prey was weak and harvest their goods after a nasty slaughter. Thus, sometimes the stone woods were more dangerous than the dark forest. A single man who stepped into it, unless he was a disaster-level warrior, would always get into trouble. The stone woods is very dangerous. Maybe the people from the dark world are lurking there, Diyalan thought for a while and reminded Miyudai. Someone will come to our aid in the stone woods, no worries. Miyudai smiled and looked back at Shiryen. You're going into the stone woods? Yep. I'm from the Merchant Union, of course I will go back there. Shiryen replied. Good. Then let's go there together. You will be safe with us in the stone woods. Miyudai looked confident, and before Shiryen replied, she added, let's go into the stone woods. Don't worry, we are safe now. Okay. Shiryen replied, though he didn't relax. Once they stepped into the stone woods, he was always on alert. From the memories of the other Shiryen, he knew it was chaos in the stone woods. All the powerful parties were involved in it, including the big families from the Merchant Union. He didn't know what Miyudai had that made her so confident. But he knew they would be killed in an instant if they weren't cautious. Shiryen kept calm as he looked around in the woods. Every 5 steps, he would turn back and examine carefully. Chapter 42, Departure. Chapter 42, Departure. In the stone woods, beside a giant rock, Emochauga, Bernard, and the Crescent emissary were standing indifferently, seeming to wait for some news. Before long, a star emissary appeared on the stone path far away, who was heading in their direction hurriedly. That star emissary came near and bowed to the Crescent emissary. Sir, still no trace of them. The Crescent emissary nodded and waved his hand. Keep watching those passes. Be on alert. Yes, sir. The star emissary, who was in charge of collecting information, stepped back silently and disappeared into the piles of stones. 1 hour later, Big Johnson, who had lost his arm, showed up from another stone path. He walked up to Emochauga and gave a salute. No news of them. Well, Emochauga nodded. Keep watching. I just don't believe that they won't come out. Third Master, is it possible that they were already killed by the demon beasts in the dark forest? Johnson asked after a hesitation. It is said that the demon beasts in that area went crazy after we left. Many warriors died because of them. They disappeared for so long. Maybe they were killed by those demon beasts. Could be. Surprisingly, Emochauga didn't oppose, but nodded and said, but if they were not killed by demon beasts and slipped through to the Merchant Union, we can do nothing anymore. You know what I mean? Got it. I will go and watch right now. Johnson was enlightened and left immediately. Frowning, Emochauga said to the Crescent emissary next to him, let's wait for another month. If they still don't show up, I guess they must have been killed in there. What do you think? Well, I agree with you. The Crescent emissary agreed. He thought for a moment and said, I got the information that the Medicine King Gon Shao and the Silver Thunder Wolf are still fighting in the dark forest. But since there are too many demon beasts, Gon Shao seemed to begin to withdraw. The demon beasts in the dark forest have now all gathered around the Silver Thunder Wolf, chasing the Medicine King Gon Shao and his escorts. That battle area is relatively safe now. You mean they may still be alive? Emochauga asked. Very likely. The Crescent emissary said, many warriors were killed in that region, and those not being killed had been scared out of the forest a long time ago. Therefore, they can easily get out of the forest alive if they are not unlucky. They'd better be alive. Bernard from the Tush Mercenary Union was filled with hatred as he said coldly, they will regret being in this world. A cold light flashed in the Crescent emissary's eyes as he said indifferently, I will take Miyudai away. Then that skinny boy is mine. He stole something from my Emo family, so I need to get it first. Then you can do whatever you want to him. Emochauga took a glimpse at Bernard and said in despise. Bernard kept silent, pondering on something that no one knew. Shiryen was walking on the jagged stones cautiously, not daring to relax his vigilance. Miyudai and Diyalan were discussing something ahead of him. He couldn't hear them clearly. Ding Yen. Miyudai paused abruptly and turned around to look at him. Yeah? Shiryen was surprised and relaxed his vigilance a little. What's the matter? You're from the Merchant Union? Miyudai hesitated and then asked casually. Yep. You trained all by yourself? Yep. You helped me a lot all along the way, so I want to introduce you to someone. If he thinks highly of you, it will be very beneficial for your training. What do you think? Miyudai was serious as her beautiful eyes shone and gazed at him. Shiryen was shocked at first, and after a long while, he shook his head and replied indifferently, "Miss Mu, thank you for your kindness, but I don't like to be restrained." He understood. Mu Yudai wanted to introduce him to an influential person or to a certain power. In this world there were many single warriors who were at a very high level and could do whatever they wanted without any help. But most warriors would choose to attach themselves to a certain power or a big family. Those powers and families possess lots of resources, immense martial skills and training materials, and most importantly, reputed warrior trainers, which could speed up one's training process and step into a higher level. However, those influential powers and families hardly admitted unknown warriors. It was very hard for a warrior to enter a big power without anyone's introduction. Apparently Mu Yudai knew someone influential, and she wanted to thank Shiryen in that way. It is very hard to train all by yourself. Mu Yudai was a little shocked as she couldn't understand Shiryen. One could gain rapid advancement only when he joins a strong power and could get help at difficult times. A single warrior tends to be attacked in foreign areas. You understand that? Yes, to train alone has many disadvantages. Dai is very considerate. You still have the chance to reject after meeting that person. Di Yalin persuaded too. Nope. I'll mind my own business and I don't want to be anyone's domestic servant. Shiryen shook his head firmly. Then whatever. Mu Yudai frowned and felt that Shiryen was being ungrateful, though she didn't insist. Di Yalin sighed, with a little bit of bitterness. She would go with Mu Yudai, and since Shiryen rejected Mu Yudai's invitation, they would depart forever, for there was little chance they would meet again. In the past few days, Shiryen had already walked into her heart. She was filled with sorrow at the thought of their departure. Ding Yan, I must go with Dai. You. After a long thought, Di Yalin couldn't help but plead, as she looked at Shiryen with regret. You can go with me. Shiryen was stunned, then added, if you are willing to. I. Di Yalin looked gloomy as she murmured, the power behind Dai can not only protect Dai, but also help me increase my ability. Furthermore, Dai has promised me that I will get exorbitant training materials, as well as a weapon of the soul level, and will even have the opportunity to train with spirit-level martial skills. Then fine. Shiryen replied decidedly, you have your own pursuits, so do I. And I can't give you what you want. Let's depart as soon as we get to Silent Town. Obviously Di Yalin chose Mu Yudai because she thought the power at Mu's back was more beneficial for her. And Mu Yudai really gave her a high price, so she found it hard to refuse. Ding Yan. Di Yalin was heartbroken. I'm sorry. You don't need to apologize. Shiryen shook his head and replied indifferently, we did everything at our own will. We don't owe each other. You. Di Yalin was a little angry as she stared at Shiryen with discontent. Her chest trembled, but then she uttered with a bitter sigh, however you think about it, I have my own plans. You are too young to understand that. Shiryen curled his lips and looked at them coldly, not saying a word. You just don't appreciate it. Mu Yudai grunted. If there isn't a common ground, a single word is a waste of breath. Shiryen shook his head and walked onto another crossroad without taking a look at the two girls. His back to them, he said coldly, goodbye forever. Ding Yan. Di Yalin shouted, didn't you say we wouldn't depart till we get to Silent Town? Miss Mu is at the third sky of human level, and there will be skillful warriors supporting you in the woods. You don't need to worry anymore. I won't take advantage of that. Shiryen's sound faded away gradually, and so did his figure. This arrogant guy will get into trouble someday. Mu Yudai shook her head. One has to learn to yield sometimes in this world. Or it will be hard to survive, especially for us warriors. Di Yalin was so disappointed. I'm so worried about him. Why not just go with us? Why did he refuse? Never mind. Stop worrying. We all will be in the Merchant Union, and we'll get the chance to meet again. Mu Yudai comforted her, Sister Lan, though we are women, we have a mission to make our family prosper and avenge Uncle Luo and our friends. We have to depend on a big power and complete our mission. After a short pause, some mixed emotions crossed her eyes. Mu Yudai recalled the days when they were traveling with Shiryen and that mind-blowing kiss with him in that cave. But eventually, She shook her head firmly, seeming to get rid of Shiryan's shadow in her mind. And him, just let him be a beautiful memory in our lives. She seemed to say that to herself. He is not that bad, almost human level, and he is so young, Dialin mumbled. It will take at least 10 years for him to advance to disaster or earth level, and even longer to get to nirvana and sky. We don't have that much time. Furthermore, he is on his own, without any strong support. Well, fine. I hope we made the right choice. I've never made a mistake. Chapter 43, Beiming Family. Chapter 43, Beiming Family. In the stone woods, Yu was leaning her plump behind against an oval rock under the hot sun. Frowning slightly, she seemed to be deep in thought. A family escort with a plain and pimply face was standing next to her and was also deep in thought while narrowing his eyes. The sound of inconsistent, heavy steps gradually came from afar. Yu opened her eyes and fluttered her eyelashes. She glanced at Johnson, who was rapidly running towards her, and coldly reproached, "Why are you in such a hurry?" "We've spotted them," Johnson answered with a twisted face. "2 girls. According to the star emissary, that's who we want." Yu's adorable eyes suddenly lit up while her expression calmed down. "Is the boy with them too?" "Seems not." After a short pause, Johnson said calmly, "We will know where the boy is once we catch the girls." Had third uncle got this message? One of our star emissaries had been sent for him. In which direction? Yu stood her beautiful body upright and stretched her limbs slowly. "Are they further away from us or third uncle?" "Further away from us. If everything goes well, the third master and his people should arrive here soon," Johnson replied. "Well then, let's not worry about it right now." Yu frowned. As she talked to the pimply family escort next to her, "Uncle Lee, do we need to go up there and meet them?" "No hurry, our target hasn't shown up yet." Li Han smiled and shook his head. "Third master and the people from the dark world are all there, so it will be fine. This pass is very crucial as well. We'd better stay on high alert. Our goal is that boy. All our previous efforts will go to waste if that boy slips away." "That makes sense." Yu nodded, without saying anything else. Wulawa. Wulawa. While stopping beside a snake-shaped rock, Mudai took out a silver horn and began to blow it. The sound of the horn rippled away like waves to faraway places. Figures hiding in every corner of the stone woods came out one after another after they heard the horn, quickly rushing in the direction of Mudai. "Sister Lan, don't worry. Some people will come to our rescue." Mudai smiled lightly. "We are really safe here. No need to worry about the dark world." "Hopefully." Dialin barely smiled. She couldn't settle down as she was worried about Shiryan. She sighed. "I hope he is fine." Shortly after, shadows appeared one after the other from far away. The man in the lead turned out to be the Crescent emissary from the dark world, and beside him were Chauga and Bernard, as well as several other family warriors and star emissaries. "Miss Mu, nice to meet you again." The Crescent emissary's vicious eyes were wandering over Muyudai's body like a cunning snake. His voice was like ice. "You nearly managed a perfect escape. But too bad. Unfortunately for you, you didn't quite make it to the Merchant Union. You will instead be taken away by me." "Really?" Muyudai smiled calmly, showing no fear. The Crescent emissary frowned and was confused. Muyudai was too calm at this time. This was too abnormal. "Where's that young guy who was hanging around with you?" Chauga came over, glanced at the girls, and said coldly, "Tell me where the boy is, or I will kill her first." Chauga pointed at Dialin. "She is mine." Bernard angrily stared at Chauga, then flashed over to Dialin like lightning and stretched his hand towards her. Tring! Noise from a zither rang out suddenly. The sound was like a sharp weapon, lightly cutting into one's nerves. Bernard quivered and his face suddenly twisted in pain. He stepped back quickly and stared at Muyudai in astonishment. Holding her zither, Muyudai had already sat down. She looked at Bernard with a cold expression on her face. "You want to try again?" Bernard's brain felt like it was being stabbed by a steel needle, and he felt like his head was splitting. Hearing that, his face became even more distorted. but he didn't dare step up again. That's impossible. The Crescent emissary's face twisted and showed panic for the first time. It has only been a few weeks. Your music martial spirit shouldn't have recovered so soon. After a pause, he seemed to remember something and sneered. I know. You forced yourself to operate your broken veins. You are seeking death. Oh! Miyu Dai replied indifferently. Maybe you can give it a try? I know you have reached the disaster level. But if you could remember, you should know that I killed a Crescent emissary at the same level as you with my music martial spirit before we entered the dark forest. This not only made the Crescent emissary hesitate, but also made both Bernard and Emo Chauga also panic. They stared at her with an unbelievable look in their eyes. Emissary? Is it true? Emo Chauga felt his mouth go dry, and he took several steps back. He made a gesture to tell the Emo family warriors not to take action. She could do that if she is in a good condition, but now, I don't buy it. The Crescent emissary grunted. Haha, emissary, it's up to you. Emo Chauga retracted further and stood amongst the Emo family warriors, showing that they were not going to take the initiative. Whoever comes up first, dies first. Miyu Dai said coldly, and then turned her head away, not bothering to say anything more. Di Yalin was standing beside her on alert with a stony face. Suddenly all was silent. Though suspicious, the Crescent emissary didn't take action blindly. At the same time, Bernard and Emo Chauga quieted down after they heard that Miyu Dai was capable of killing a disaster-level warrior. They made eye contact with the Crescent emissary to urge him to test Miyu Dai. At that moment, shadows appeared from all directions from the surrounding rocks. A tall man suddenly stood beside Miyu Dai and said softly, Miss Mu, how are you? Everyone in the area, including the Crescent emissary, Emo Chauga and Bernard, who were all disaster-level warriors, couldn't figure out how he appeared. That man just appeared next to Miyu Dai like a ghost. Martial spirit of teleportation. Beiming family. Emo Chauga screamed in shock. Look who we have here, the Emo family. The handsome young man beside Miyu Dai looked around in arrogance and said coldly, Huh? You want to fight with my Beiming family? We dare not. Emo Chauga took a deep breath and calmed down. He said to the young man politely, It's the third young master. No wonder Miss Mu was so confident. Third young master, I didn't know that Miss Mu was protected by the Beiming family. If I knew that earlier, I wouldn't have bothered coming here. Please forgive me, third young master. Beiming Su waved his hand and said impatiently, If it's none of the Emo family's business, just leave with your people. Don't get involved. I'm gonna clean up the dark world. As he was talking, warriors wearing Beiming uniforms arrived one by one. Two old men, one thin and the other fat, stood next to him silently and fixed their cold eyes on Emo Chauga and the Crescent emissary separately. Well then, I will take my leave. Emo Chauga smiled respectfully and left at once. The Emo family warriors turned quiet after they saw Beiming Su and left immediately with Emo Chauga. As for Bernard, he stepped back and was about to run away into the stone woods. Miyu Dai touched her zither softly and said, Third young master, please kill that guy. Treeing. The sound of the zither rang out. Bernard's body quivered heavily and he almost fell down. He jumped behind a rock immediately and ran as fast as hell. Old Een, please. Beiming Su ordered softly. The thin old man behind him suddenly rushed out like a ghost and, after a moment, disappeared. 3 seconds later, Bernard's miserable, horrifying scream came from within the stone woods. 5 minutes later, the thin old man, Old Een, flew back like a ghost and stood still beside Beiming Su, all without saying a word. Note from the TL. Hey guys, thank you for reading this excellent novel. And yeah, I know, though it's perfect, there's something funny, such as the author sometimes has bad memory that he forgets to make Di Yalin and Miyu Dai call Shi Yan Ding Yan, and the pinyin Dai is like the English word die, haha, anyway, it is an intriguing novel, isn't it? Chapter 44, Silent Town. Chapter 44, Silent Town. Thank you, third young master. Miyu Dai stood up and put her zither away slowly. Seeing confusion in the Crescent emissary's eyes, she said, You never thought you would encounter misfortune after such a long chase, did you? Beiming Su. This is a matter between the Dark World and the Mu family. Your Beiming family better not get involved. The Crescent emissary didn't look at Mu Dai, but instead stared at Beiming Su. As long as you allow me to take Miss Mu away, the Lord of the Dark World will reward your Beiming family with anything you want. No need. Beiming Su shook his head and said calmly, since you're already here, there is no reason for you to return. The two old men behind him quickly flew out again. These two old men flew towards the emissaries like hideous devils. After a few seconds, all the emissaries from the Dark World, including the Crescent emissary, had their chests sliced open and died instantly. Once all the emissaries were killed, the two frightening old men silently flew back to Beiming Su's side like two ghostly shadows. Standing beside Mu Dai, Tianyun was astonished when she saw the miserable deaths of the emissaries. She knew that the Beiming family was very influential within the merchant union, but she never thought they were this powerful. The Beiming family didn't care about retaliation from the Dark World. Therefore, they ruthlessly killed the emissaries. Sister Lan, do you still think we made the wrong decision? Mu Dai smiled. Tianyun had a complicated expression on her face. She lightly sighed. No, it's just that. Stop worrying. For our future's sake, it's best to forget about him as soon as possible. Mu Dai persuaded her softly. Okay. Tianyun nodded helplessly. Shall we go now? Beiming Su's black eyes wandered over Tianyun and Mu Dai for a while as he asked politely. Sure. In another region of the stone woods, as Serene stepped around a corner, he suddenly drew back while on alert. Shoo! A sharp arrow landed in front of him. At the same time, a blue smoke bomb of the Mo family shot up into the sky. It's you again. Reckless. Serene grunted with a stony face. Mo Yanyu appeared from within a stone cave with arrows in her hand. She looked at Serene and said coldly, You've finally shown up. Johnson, with his broken arm, and Li Han also appeared from behind her and blocked Serene from both sides, while watching him cautiously. You are seeking death. Serene shouted and suddenly shot towards Mo Yanyu like a sharp sword. While shooting forward, his body was covered with white smoke and the smell of death. He looked like a terrifying devil. Miss! Watch out! Li Han cried out in fear and flew towards Mo Yanyu like lightning. Li Han was at the second sky of human level, thus he could see Serene's amazing explosiveness. How could Mo Yanyu bear such violent force? Chi-chi. Serene slammed his foot down and cut a long gouge in the ground. Suddenly, his body changed direction and rushed towards Johnson, moving faster than before. Bang! Before Johnson could even think, he saw a white shadow rushing towards him and an overwhelming power slammed into his body. Kakaka! All of Johnson's bones broke instantly and blood poured from his mouth and eyes. He fell to the ground and moaned miserably. You're Johnson, right? You certainly enjoyed it when you whipped me hard a few days ago. Standing beside Johnson, Serene kicked on Johnson's chest again and again. He smirked. Are you enjoying this now? Huh. Serene continued to kick Johnson until a broken bone in his chest was forced into his heart and he finally ceased to breathe. Brutal. Li Han was shocked. Though he wanted to go and kill Serene, he worried about Mo Yanyu, so he could only hesitate and shout, unable to stop him. Mo Yanyu was horrified. She was dumbstruck after she saw how brutally Johnson was killed. Johnson's profound chi was then quickly absorbed into Serene's meridians in a few seconds. Serene turned around and fixed his bright eyes on Mo Yanyu. Then he smiled coldly, Pretty, we will meet again. And believe me, you will regret what you have done to me. As he finished his sentence, he slipped around a nearby stone and disappeared into the stone woods. Oldly, why didn't you kill him? Mo Yanyu said angrily after Serene disappeared. That guy is at least at the second sky of Nascent level. Also, he used such brutal martial arts that could kill in a single move. He moved so fast that I could hardly follow him. If I had moved, he would have come and attacked you, so I was afraid, Li Han said apologetically. Second sky of Nascent level. Mo Yanyu held her breath as fear could be seen in her eyes. She mumbled, It's impossible. There was only a little profound chi in his body 2 months ago. He was merely at the first sky of elementary level. What? Li Han's whole body shook as he looked at her unbelievably. After a long time, he continued, "If that's true, miss, in my humble opinion, you have caused a huge problem for the Mo family." Yan moved quickly through the stone woods, not spending one more second than necessary in any area. He knew that Li Han was a human-level warrior, and since the blue smoke bomb of the Mo family was already in the sky, more people would gather there shortly. He had to escape as soon as possible to avoid any further trouble. Because of his cautiousness, he managed to escape from that dangerous region before Mo Chaoga and his people arrived. There didn't seem to be many warriors hiding in the stone woods. He didn't see anyone while he was fleeing, which confused him a little. He guessed this abnormality had something to do with those influential people Mu Dai mentioned. At nightfall, Yan finally got out of the stone woods and was walking towards Silent Town, which was only a very short distance away. He slowed down a little and began to sort through the memories of the previous owner of his body to recall everything he could about the Shi family. He needed the identity of the former master of this body. As one of the 5 biggest families in the Merchant Union, the Shi family was rich in all types of resources such as martial skills, a gravity field training room, rare Chinese medicines, and skillful warrior trainers. He needed to use these advantages to strengthen himself. He had decided when he was at the blood pool that he would go to the Shi family, and that's why he refused Mu Dai's offer. The identity of his body was too special that it would cause a lot of trouble if he attached himself to another power. In addition, a new power wouldn't give him access to the best resources. But it would be totally different if he went to the Shi family. The previous master of his body was the young master of the Shi family. As long as he showed talent, the Shi family would cultivate him at any cost. It would be a total waste if he didn't take advantage of their special resources. Once he reached Silent Town, he walked directly into a shop which was collecting all sort of stones without a second thought and shouted naturally, "Anyone here?" An attendant came up with a wide smile and flattered, "Young Master Yan, you've finally returned. The master sent Minister Han to pick you up long ago since you disappeared in the dark forest." "Young Master Yan, Minister Han is in the backyard, for he has waited for you for many days. But now it is a little inconvenient for him to meet. Could you wait for a moment?" The attendant looked towards the backyard with ambiguous eyes. "Never mind. I know what he is doing." Yan walked directly into the backyard of the shop. Several Shi family warriors were gambling in the backyard. At the sight of Yan, they panicked and put the dices away embarrassingly, then greeted loudly, "Young Master Yan. Please go on." Yan waved his hands and strode past them to the back room. These warriors were quite surprised since Yan left without scolding them. "What? He didn't reproach us this time. Too strange." "Yes, he used to scold us every time he saw us gambling. Do some actual work. Stop goofing around." How strange that he didn't say anything this time. Young Master Yan looked totally different. It seems that he has developed some manliness. Don't you think so? Well, yeah, you have a point. Yan opened the door as he reached the back room and walked in directly. "Uncle Han, when did you arrive here?" Han Zhong was quite shocked. After dressing himself in a hurry, he smiled in embarrassment. "Young Master Yan, when did you come in?" "I've been here for quite a while." Yan smiled, sipped his tea, and waved his hand. "It's okay. If you are not satisfied enough, you can keep going. Besides, I have the chance to learn something from you." "Kikik." Han Zhong coughed strongly for a while, satisfied. "Well, Xiao Fengxian, you should go back to your business." "Okay, I will take my leave." That young woman dressed herself in bed and then stepped down with a red face. As she walked to the doorway, she suddenly turned back and glared at Yan. "Everybody said young Master Yan from the Shi family is a righteous man. I guess they are all blind. I've never seen such a righteous man before." "Humph." She giggled and leered at Yan before moving her hot body out of the room. Chapter 45. The Change. Chapter 45. The Change. As soon as Xiao Fengxian left, Han Zhong became more relaxed right away. After briefly dressing himself, Han Zhong sat down at the table in front of Shi Yan, made a cup of tea and sipped it. Young Master Yan, where are your escorts? All dead. Shi Yan looked calm as he explained casually, the demon beasts in the dark forest went insane when hunting the warriors. In order to protect me, they all sacrificed themselves. Han Zhong was rather shocked as he looked at Shi Yan in confusion. I was more or less aware of the situation. It's so lucky of you to have escaped from it. He had heard the news long ago that the Silver Thunder Wolf had gone on a rampage, so he planned to go back to Shi family in half a month since he assumed that he wouldn't be able to find Shi Yan alive. He couldn't believe that Shi Yan walked out of the dark forest unscathed. It was so intense in the dark forest that even experienced warriors had been killed. But Shi Yan, who was a nerd, had somehow managed to survive. This completely surprised Han Zhong. Han Zhong didn't really like the former master of Shi Yan's body. That guy didn't train in martial arts and was very old-fashioned. He loved to look into things that no one else in the Shi family liked. Han Zhong couldn't understand that. Now, if it weren't for Shi Jian's order and the fact that he happened to be in Silent Town, he wouldn't have been here waiting for Shi Yan. Yes, you certainly did have good luck. Shi Yan nodded as he smiled naturally, then he asked indifferently, Uncle Han, when are we returning home? It's up to you, young Master Yan. Actually, I'm desperate to leave, for I have something to report to the family head. I would have returned days ago if it weren't for you. Han Zhong paused and answered boldly. While he was talking, Han Zhong couldn't help but begin to examine Shi Yan. He didn't notice it at first, but after a careful examination, he realized something was different about him. Shi Yan was much skinnier than before, and his round face had become angular and more masculine. Sitting there naturally, Shi Yan's kept his back upright, and his body was like a sharp sword, which made him seem quite hard-edged. That wasn't the only change in his appearance. The former Shi Yan only lit up when he was researching historic relics. He was often listless on an average day. But now, the guy before Han Zhong had deep bright eyes and seemed to be deep in thought all the time, sending out the impression that he knew everything. Uncle Han, may I ask you something? Under Han Zhong's gaze, Shi Yan continued easily. It is surprisingly quiet in the Stone Woods these days. Do you know what's happening? Well, the Beiming family sent people there. It is said that they were meeting someone in the Stone Woods. Therefore, the warriors who were wandering in the Stone Woods all left upon hearing that. The Beiming family. Who was in the lead? Shi Yan realized something. Beiming Su. Han Zhong began to curse after he answered Shi Yan. That guy is said to have reached disaster level half a year ago. Damn, he is only 27 years old. And he has twin martial spirits. Madness. I'm already 45 and still at the second sky of disaster level. It's unfair. 25 years old, first sky of disaster level, twin martial spirits. Shi Yan stiffened as he suddenly realized that Beiming Su was the person Mu Yu Dai had planned to introduce him to. That man has a rare talent and reached that level at such a young age. In addition, he came from the #1 family in the Merchant Union, the Beiming family. No wonder Mu Yu Dai and Di Yalan chose him. Silently, Shi Yan smirked to himself and an icy glint could be seen in his eyes. 25 years old, disaster level, twin martial spirits, that's very unbelievable. Not exactly. He was someone who had reached the third sky of nascent level from the first sky of elementary level in mere 2 months. Despite the petrification and immortal martial spirits, he also possessed another vicious and mysterious martial spirit. In comparison, he had much more potential than Beiming Su. Time. I only need some time to surpass Beiming Su. Shi Yan thought to himself. Young Master Yan, you've got profound qi in your body. Han Zhong's eyes lit up and he gazed at Shi Yan seriously. I can feel that there is profound qi flowing in your body, and it is incredibly dense. Young Master Yan, what on earth happened to you? Shi Yan took a deep breath, trying to suppress his indignation. Yes, I've got profound qi, so I'm a warrior now. Which level? Han Zhong couldn't wait. Nascent level. What? The Merchant Union. Tianyun City. The Shi family. The training field. The training field of Shi family extended tens of miles and was covered with ancient trees and odd rocks. There were also water pools, sand fields, earth fields, and wooden rooms within the training field. With complicated refuges and barriers everywhere, the members of Shi family were able to conduct live combat exercises. And they could also learn to adjust and fight in all sorts of topographies. At the time being, in the center of the training field, stood a huge, diamond-shaped testing jade. The third generation of Shi family were in a queue, walking towards the jade. They put their hand on the testing jade and sent out profound qi to test their level. Shi Tianluo, 21, the second sky of nascent level. Shi Tianshao, 25, the first sky of nascent level. Shi Tianling, 27, the third sky of elementary level. Shi Tianke, 20, the second sky of nascent level. Shi Tianyun, 19, the third sky of nascent level. Han Feng, who was standing beside the testing jade with his eyes narrowed, yelled out after every young member finished his test. Every time Han Feng announced the result, the members of the first and second generations changed their expression accordingly, either happy or disappointed. Second brother, your Tianyun is really something. He managed to advance to a higher stage. Shi Kuo was a little angry as he grunted. Tianke has been too lazy recently. I have to do something. Third brother, Tianke trains really hard. I saw him training in the gravitational room at midnight. Don't pressure him too much, or it could go the opposite way. Shi Gang comforted him. Tianyun, work harder. Advance to human level as soon as possible. Shi Tai's sound was like a great bell as he said proudly. Shi Tai was Shi Jian's brother, and Shi Gang and Shi Kuo were his sons. Shi Tianyun was Shi Gang's son, and thus Shi Tai's grandson. Shi Tai was delighted as he saw that Shi Tianyun had advanced. The position of family head was decided by one's martial level. Many years ago, Shi Tai lost to his brother, so he was rather unhappy and hoped that his grandson, Shi Tianyun, could transcend Shi Jian's grandson, Shi Tianshao. The petrification martial spirit was very special and only went to the first two children of a couple. The third child would rarely have the chance to inherit it. That's why every small family of Shi would generally only have two children. Even the head of the Shi family, Shi Jian, only had two children, Shi Yang and Shi Qing. Shi Yang had a daughter, Shi Tianling, and a son, Shi Tianshao. Shi Qing and Yang Hai only had one son, and that was Shi Yan. Thus, Shi Tianling, Shi Tianshao, and Shi Yan were Shi Jian's grandchildren, while Shi Tianyun, Shi Tianluo, and Shi Tianke were Shi Tai's grandchildren. The members of Shi family all got along well with each other. They stuck together and worked hard to increase the influence of their family. But no matter how close they were, they still competed with each other. Such as Shi Tai, he always wanted to surpass Shi Jian through his grandson. As his sons, Shi Gang and Shi Kuo, were not comparable to Shi Jian's son, Shi Yang, he had given up passing his dream onto them. Luckily, his grandsons, Shi Tianyun and Shi Tianke, were more talented than Shi Tianshao. He was rather proud every time they did the test, although it was without any bad intentions. Yang Hai was standing next to Shi Yang as he was explaining the state of their quarry to the latter. Hearing Shi Tai's yell, Shi Yang got serious. Well, second uncle is about to show off again. After a pause, he glanced at Shi Tianshao, who was standing beside him, and scolded, "You little bastard. You only caused me to lose face." I'm not that bad." Shi Tianshao drew his head back and looked miserable. Yang Hai's face became bitter as he sighed. "You should be satisfied. Think about my Shi Yan. At least Tianshao is a warrior. But that bastard fools around all day and hasn't come back yet. Who knows how much trouble he will bring back this time." That's true. Shi Yang laughed. The descendants of Shi family were all gathered together on the training field and were discussing lively. Just then, an eagle appeared in the sky and settled down on Shi Jian's shoulder. Shi Jian picked up a little gray bag from the eagle's claw and took out a letter. Opening the letter casually, he began to read, and he frowned. They were all his relatives, so he didn't intend to hide anything. After merely one glance, Shi Jian couldn't help but cry out with an amazed look on his face. The people on the field were surprised and became quiet. They looked at Shi Jian and wondered why he was acting so weird. "Big brother, what's up?" Shi Tai frowned and asked loudly, "Is the Mo family making a fuss again? Damn, they won't quiet down if we don't give them a good kick." "Nope." Shi Jian put down the letter excitedly as he said in surprise, "Han Zhong found Shi Yan. How is that bastard?" Upon hearing that, Yang Hai finally settled down. He asked with an annoyed face, seemingly planning on giving Shi Yan a lesson when he returned. "That kid is a warrior now." Shi Jian looked shocked as his mouth trembled. He was trying to hide his excitement. "What?" Shi Tai couldn't help but cry out. "He is 17. Why did he begin to train at such an old age?" After thinking, he sighed lightly as he really felt sorry for Shi Yan. It's too late, starting at 17. I guess he won't achieve anything in his life. What was that little bastard doing before now? If he had been training since he was born, he could have reached the 2nd or 3rd sky of Nascent level, even if he doesn't possess the martial spirit of Shi family. That kid is now at the 3rd sky of Nascent level. Shi Jian answered firmly with sharp eyes. Chapter 46. A Glance. Chapter 46. A Glance. Half a month later, in Tianyun City, Shi Yan and Han Zhong, as well as a troop of warriors from the Shi family, were entering the city at a leisurely pace. A ground dragon was carrying the goods they had purchased from Silent Town. Shi Yan and Han Zhong were at the head of the troop and had talked all the way. "Old Han, it's getting late. Let's continue for home tomorrow. We should rest somewhere in the city today, okay?" Shi Yan said leisurely. "Well, where does Brother Yan want to stay?" Han Zhong smiled with an ambiguous look on his face. Tianyun City is the biggest city in the Merchant Union, with a large population of several millions. The recreation centers in the city are much better quality than those in the small cities we passed. "Well, Old Han, since you are familiar with this area, you lead the way. I'm afraid my remaining crystal coins are not enough." We will spend cost a lot at some places." "Old Han, you want to take advantage of me again? Last time in the Scent Pavilion you pretended to be drunk and made me pay for everything. Now you want to do that again." "Hehe, I was truly drunk that time. You are treating me unjustly." "I don't care. You have to pay this time, or I will tell Uncle Han Feng everything you did on the way." "No, Brother Yan, it's my treat. My treat, okay?" Han Zhong faked a miserable face and sighed. "You know my brother's temper too well. If he knows what I did, he will kick me to death." "Oh my, I'm so miserable. I work so hard for the family and earn so little money that I can barely even afford my recreation time." "Deal. It's your treat tonight." Shi Yan looked back and shouted to the warriors behind him, "Fellows, you all heard that, right?" "Yes, we heard it." All 7 warriors of Shi family yelled excitedly at the same time. "Let's go." Shi Yan mingled well with Han Zhong and those warriors in that half a month. Shi Yan was not pretentious at all as he ate and interacted happily with the warriors. And he was very open when it came to women, for he never chickened out in brothels, sometimes being even more audacious and horny than Han Zhong once he met a lovely girl. The two of them went to a lot of brothels together along the way. They paid in turns and never let the warriors use any money. In a very short time, Shi Yan won the trust of Han Zhong and his escorts. Han Zhong thought they shared the same interests and complimented Shi Yan on the fact that he had grown up. As his level increased, Shi Yan had become a totally different person. Shi Yan concealed most of what had happened to him in the dark forest. He told Han Zhong that he found a certain type of red fruit in the ancient cave he was studying. After eating 3 such fruits, he got profound qi and awoke the petrification martial spirit of Shi family. He didn't mention a word about the blood pool, the immortal martial spirit or the mysterious martial spirit, nor the story between him and Mo Yanyu and Mu Yudai. Though Han Zhong was very surprised by Shi Yan's magical story, he didn't keep asking, but thought that Shi Yan was incredibly lucky to find that fruit which made him stronger. And during these days, Shi Yan learned all he could about the Shi family through Han Zhong. The former master of his body had left him many memories, though it was mostly about the historic relics and ancient language that he had studied. But Shi Yan couldn't recall many memories about the Shi family. Luckily, Han Zhong was not on guard against him. During their together time in brothels, Han Zhong had already told him all he wanted to know. After hanging out together several times, Han Zhong began to like this young master, so he told Shi Yan not only about the business and power distribution of Shi family, but also common sense about martial training, which Shi Yan wasn't aware of before. For example, when a warrior reached nirvana level, the conception sea would form in their mind, which could connect and combine the martial spirit magically with their profound qi to activate a secret skill and release an amazing power. Also, he told Shi Yan a lot about the features and weakness of all sorts of martial spirits, about the most powerful martial spirit in the Merchant Union, the Fire Empire and the God-Blessed Empire, and their weaknesses and disadvantages. Although Han Zhong was very lustful, he was quite diligent in training martial arts. Han Zhong possessed a lot information about warriors, therefore, through him, Shi Yan gained a thorough and comprehensive understanding about warriors, as well as the differences among the levels below disaster level. Han Zhong was a disaster level warrior, so he couldn't tell Shi Yan much about the levels above it, but he told Shi Yan everything he knew about the lower levels. This information was exactly what Shi Yan needed most right now. The Dream Pavilion. Shi Yan and Han Zhong, along with 4 Shi family warriors, were drinking and having fun in a large room on the 3rd floor. In the center of the simple and unsophisticated room, on some soft carpet, stood a 1-meter-high square table, which was loaded with delicate food and drinks. Shi Yan and Han Zhong were sitting on the carpet with hot young girls in their arms, yelling and playing dice happily. "Old Han, drink," Shi Yan yelled. Han Zhong was downcast as he had lost numerous times. He drank up the wine in his cup at once and rubbed the girls in his arms' breasts. Then he raised the dice and grunted, "This hand's got some luck. This time I will definitely win." If that is luck, both of my hands have it." Shi Yan's grin widened, and he put both of his hands underneath the girl's coat. "Xiao Xiang, you really got big things here. Say, I will always be bigger than him." Xiao Xiang had delicate white skin and plump breasts. Her watery eyes were filled with shyness. "Young Master Yan, you are so bad. Why do you tease me all the time? You can tease me too." Shi Yan smiled, drank his strong drink, and urged, "Old Han, what are you waiting for? Cast the dice. In Kue and Jiao Shan are nearby. Too much in qi is coming forth. I can feel it clearly." Han Zhong frowned, released the girl in his arms, and quietly walked to the window. He opened the window and looked out of it with the help of the light of a big red lantern. Sure enough, there is Beiming. In Kue and Jiao Shan never leave his side. Wherever In Kue and Jiao Shan are, you will find Beiming. As Han Zhong mentioned Beiming, Shi Yan suddenly remembered Mu Dai and Di Yalan. After a little hesitation, he too walked to the window and opened it a little wider, coldly gazing at the troop on the street. This troop consisted of around 30 people. Beiming Su was riding on his snow-white Lingxiao horse at the head of the troop. Smiling lightly, he was talking to someone in the sedan on a ground dragon beside him. As the curtain on the sedan fluttered in the wind, Mu Dai's fairy-like face could be seen. Di Yalan was riding a war horse with black armor on it, her hot body moving up and down with the pace of the war horse. She looked in low spirits and a slight, sorrowful frown could be seen between her eyebrows. She barely smiled when Beiming talked to her, not showing too much interest. The 2 old men, who were sending out heavy in qi, were both riding black-armored war horses behind Beiming silently. Shi Yan opened the window a little more. When he looked at the troop who were still dozens of meters away, the 2 old men seemed to notice as they looked in his direction immediately. Shi Yan felt 2 streams of cold in qi gush out of their eyes from so far away, making him shudder with fear. The 2 old men seemed to know Han Zhong, as when they came near the window and saw him, their cold air decreased. Under the 2 men's gaze, Han Zhong became a totally different person. Instead of behaving in a noisy, flamboyant, and boisterous manner, he looked rigid, as he gave a salute to them, holding his fists in front of his chest. The two old men nodded and didn't look at Han Zhong anymore. They turned back and narrowed their eyes, focusing again towards Beiming's back. The troop from the Beiming family didn't stop, but continued their leisurely steps along the street. There were several warriors who were out seeking fun on the narrow street. They stepped to the side of the road in respect when they saw the Beiming troop. A small path was thus suddenly formed in the middle of the crowded street for the Beiming troops to move by smoothly. Chapter 47, Tianyun City. Chapter 47, Tianyun City. In that simple room, Shiryan looked lost. He stood stunned at the window for quite a while before closing the window. Going back to his seat, he was in rather low spirits. He merely focused on drinking and didn't put his hands on the girls anymore. Young Master Yan, was that the Beiming family troop? Carl, a Sher family warrior, asked him casually. Yes, Shiryan answered bluntly and kept drinking. Standing by the window, Shizhong looked at Shiryan, frowning with an odd look in his eyes. After some hesitation, he asked, Brother Yan, the woman on the war horse, do you know her? Shiryan nodded and finished the wine in his cup. Yes, we walked out of the dark forest together. As you heard, the demon beasts were everywhere. It was better to be accompanied than be alone. Han Zhong was an experienced man. Seeing Shiryan's apathetic response, he blinked his eyes and assumed that something must have happened between Shiryan and Diyalan. Moving near Shiryan, Han Zhong waved his hand to the girl next to him. Leave us alone. We need to talk. The foxy girl stood up smiling and quickly left the room. When there were only the warriors left in the room, Han Zhong said, Brother Yan, I don't know who that woman is. But it seems that Beiming Su is quite into her. If she accepts Beiming Su as well, you should forget her. Han Zhong is right. There are so many women in the world. It's unwise to offend Beiming Su for a woman. The Beiming family is the #1 family in the Merchant Union, and they are too influential. Beiming Su is Beiming Sheng's beloved son. It's unwise to offend him. Carl reminded Shiryan earnestly. Carl, who was at the second sky of Nascent level, was the leader of the warriors. He tried to comfort Shiryan as the latter had left a very good impression. Old Han, who were those two old men? Shiryan didn't reply to Carl's statement, but looked to Han Zhong. In Kue and Jiao Shan have the same teacher, and they are at the first sky of Nirvana level now, but no one knows where they came from. They used to serve the family head of Beiming family, Beiming Sheng. After Beiming Su was born, and considering how he possesses twin martial spirits and agile movements, Beiming Sheng assigned them to protect Beiming Su, the first sky of Nirvana level. Shiryan was astounded. Jian, the family head of the Sher family, was only at the third sky of Nirvana level. There were millions of residents in the Merchant Union, among which were numerous warriors who trained martial arts. But only a small part of them, barely more than 10 people, could step into the Nirvana level. The 2 Nirvana level warriors stayed by Beiming Su's side without doing anything else. The world was his oyster. In the Merchant Union, the Beiming family is much more powerful than the other 2 biggest families combined. There are many skillful warriors among the ministers, and talented descents pop up now and then. Plus, Beiming Sheng himself is at the sky level. It is really unwise to offend the Beiming family. Seeing that Shiryan wasn't responding, Han Zhong hastily explained in case Shiryan acted abruptly. Okay, got it. After being silent for a while, Shiryan nodded. His expression turned back to normal as he smiled to Han Zhong. Don't worry about me, old Han. I know what to do and when to endure. That's good for you. Han Zhong said, feeling relieved. Let the girls in again. No, not interested. Let's drink. Great. Let's drink. Come on. The Merchant Union was a very special country which was co-governed by the big families, warriors, mercenaries, merchants, and all sorts of NGOs. There were no formal army, no officers, and no governmental structure. Instead, there were many big families, hundreds of mercenary unions, tens of thousands of merchants, vagrants, and civilians who hated wars. The Merchant Union never got involved in the wars between the Fire Empire and the God-Blessed Empire, Therefore, it was a peaceful country. However, once it was invaded, all the forces in the Merchant Union would unite to fight against the enemy. Over the history of the Merchant Union, the Fire Empire and the God-blessed Empire had both attempted to invade it for its wealth, but they were smashed every time by the united army of the big families and mercenary unions in the Merchant Union. On average days, there were no governors in the Merchant Union, but once it was in danger, its people would fight together to drive back their mutual enemy. Those big families, hundreds of mercenary unions and wealthy merchants could form an extremely powerful force which could defeat the God-blessed Empire and the Fire Empire easily. It's lucky that the forces in the Merchant Union only came together when the country was in danger, or it could swallow any other country at any time. The Merchant Union was in a crucial position. The dark forest was to its south, the dead swamp to its north, continuous cloud mountain to its west, and the enormous endless sea to its east. No matter if it was the dead swamp, the cloud mountain, or the islands in the endless sea, there hid all kinds of abundant resources, such as minerals and magical medicines. As a big trading nation, the Merchant Union took advantage of its geographical location. However, despite the exuberant resources in the dead swamp, the cloud mountain, and the endless sea, there was also incredible danger. Demon beasts, poisonous fog, miasma, hideous tribes, and disasters. That's why one needed to be very capable to travel in these areas. Luckily, the Merchant Union never lacked skillful mercenary unions and warriors. There were 17 cities in the Merchant Union, and the Tianyun city was the biggest among them. Tianyun city was located in the center of the Merchant Union, with 8 small cities around it. It covered a large area which almost equaled the 8 small cities combined, as did its population. Therefore, Tianyun City was like the capital city of the Merchant Union, which was the main territory of those biggest families. The Shi family was amongst them. Though they had properties and gardens in every main city, the Shi family was rooted in Tianyun City. The Shi family was located in the northern part of Tianyun City. It covered 100 miles and had thousands of buildings in it. Artificial lakes, rockeries, gardens, and brooks were everywhere. The Shi family descendants lived in the serene back garden, where there was an artificial lake in the middle, with beautiful pavilions surrounding it. Behind the pavilions were the training fields, gravitational rooms, and suffering palaces. There were not many direct Shi descendants, but its branches and ministers could easily reach 100. Considering those servants and escorts, there were almost 1,000 people in Shi family. Early every morning, the Shi family members, ministers, and warriors would train hard within the training grounds. On that day, just as the rooster crowed and the sky began to turn bright, many warriors had already gotten up and started to train. Shi Jian walked out of the rock room and shouted below into Yang Hai's pavilion. Then they walked toward the gate together. During their walk to the gate, the warriors bowed to them. Shi Jian nodded indifferently without slowing his steps. A short time after they reached the gate, Han Feng appeared behind them. He began to observe the corridor out the gate as he stood next to Shi Jian silently. According to Han Zhong's message, they should have arrived home last night. Since they didn't, they must arrive today. Shi Jian frowned and mumbled, "I waited till dawn to see if that boy has really reached the 3rd sky of Nascent level. But that bastard didn't come home. Maybe they were held up by something on the road." Though Yang Hai was cursing in his mind that Shi Yan was too impolite, he still explained for him. Damn it. Is it possible that Han Zhong sent the wrong message? Shi Jian looked back to Han Feng in confusion. I have met someone whose martial spirit awoke as a teenager, so I'm not skeptical about that. However, that kid has never trained in martial arts before turning 17, but now he is suddenly at the 3rd sky of Nascent level. That is just unbelievable. I have been pondering upon it for several nights, but I still can't figure it out. What do you think? Han Feng pouted, narrowed his eyes, and said, though Han Zhong is not a serious man most of the time, he is quite cautious on major things, so I don't think he would dare to lie about this. I can't explain it either, but I think it might be true. Well, I can only hope so. That bastard has let me down these past 17 years. I hope this time he will be different. Many warriors came out after them in curiosity after they had breakfast, as they heard that the family head was waiting at the gate. They gathered together and were discussing boisterously. No one knew who was coming. The most likely people were those of the Beiming family or Zhou family, or Shi Jian wouldn't be there. Yet, after a long time, no one showed up. The warriors turned impatient and began to curse amongst themselves at the arrogant person who had made Shi Jian wait for so long. As the sun rose higher and higher, they still saw nothing. Shi Jian was becoming worried as well, as he said to Yang Hai next to him, "It's been so long. What happened?" Yang Hai shook his head with a bitter smile implying he didn't know either, while he sighed secretly to himself. Though Shi Jian mentioned Shi Yan now and then, he never really cared for him. He remembered Shi Yan only after Yang Hai's reminder that Shi Yan had disappeared in the dark forest. Upon hearing Shi Yan had reached the third sky of Nascent level, Shi Jian asked about him every day, and even came out early and waited for him. Shi Jian's attitude switched too much, which made Yang Hai a little uncomfortable. Hours later, it was approaching noon as the sun was directly above them in the sky. A fat ground dragon slowly appeared from the corridor. Two persons were leisurely leading while chatting happily. They were Shi Yan and Han Zhong. Chapter 48. The Test. Chapter 48. The Test. At the gate of Shi family. Shi Jian, Han Feng and Yang Hai all saw Shi Yan in front of the ground dragon at the same time. Yang Hai took a quick glance at Shi Yan and frowned, thinking to himself that the boy must have suffered a lot as he had become much skinnier. However, Shi Jian and Han Feng's eyes brightened soon after they saw Shi Yan. They were totally surprised. Yang Hai didn't train martial arts, so he didn't know that one getting skinnier didn't necessarily imply weakness. Sometimes there was much more explosiveness hidden in a skinny body than in a robust one. However, Shi Jian and Han Feng were both experts, therefore they realized just from a glance that Shi Yan had become much stronger, and was even stronger than those third-generation descents who had trained hard for more than 10 years. They looked at each other and were amazed. They couldn't understand what had happened to Shi Yan in the past half a year that could have changed his bone structure. A few minutes later, the troop, including Shi Yan and Han Zhong, arrived at the gate. "Hi, Big Grandpa, Uncle Han, Father." Shi Yan walked up to the gate with steady steps and greeted them. Han Zhong came over as well, greeting Shi Jian and Han Feng, and nodded at Yang Hai. Then he stood silently beside Shi Yan. Shi Jian and Han Feng's bright eyes moved over Shi Yan's body. After a long time, Shi Jian's eyes trembled. He took a deep breath and said to Shi Yan, "Follow me." Then Shi Jian turned and headed to the backyard light-footedly. Everyone who knew Shi Jian understood that he was in high spirits. "Kid, put on a good show." Han Zhong made a face at Shi Yan, implying that he was going to see better days. Shi Yan gracefully acknowledged him and nodded softly. He turned to Yang Hai, "Father, are you especially waiting for me?" Though Yang Hai had a rigid face, a light smile appeared around the corners of his mouth. "No one is waiting for you specifically. I just wanted to see what happened to your body and whether you really reached the nascent level or not." "Han Zhong, come over here. I have a question for you." Han Feng threw a look at Han Zhong and left in the opposite direction to Shi Yan. Han Zhong hung his head, with a worried look on his face, and followed after his brother reluctantly. "Well, go. Don't keep your big grandpa waiting for too long." Yang Hai mumbled as he pulled Shi Yan's jacket and asked in a low voice, "What the hell happened to you?" "Big grandpa will also ask about it later. So, I guess I will explain then." Shi Yan smiled, not showing much respect for his father. Yang Hai was a little surprised. He gazed at Shi Yan and asked in confusion, "Kid, you're different now. You never beat around the bush and always answered my questions straightforwardly. But now, you do not seem to be afraid of me. Kid, seems like you've grown up and don't take my concerns into account anymore. You are my father. Why would I be afraid of you?" Shi Yan was astounded as he asked, "What is there to be afraid of? This isn't like you. You never talk to me like this." Yang Hai frowned. After a careful examination, he shook his head and said to himself, "Little bastard. You became really audacious after becoming a warrior. I'm gonna go. I can't keep Big Grandpa waiting for too long. Shiryen smiled. Those Sure family warriors who had crowded the gate all got confused and started another boisterous discussion. Was the family head waiting for young Master Yen? Is it true? I don't know. I'm confused too. The family head has never appeared with young Master Yen before, nor was he interested in his matters. What happened now? Who knows? Has young Master Yen created trouble again? Not likely, because Master Yang Hai was the one who always cleaned up his mess. Although young Master Yen makes trouble in the merchant union now and then, it was not to the extent that the family head had to solve it. Maybe young Master Yen got into huge trouble this time. Who knows? Stop your idle talk. You'd better be respectful to young Master Yen from now on. He is not the book nerd you knew anymore. Don't blame me once you offend him and kick up a breeze. Carl was making arrangements for the ground dragon and couldn't help but yell when he saw that people were still gossiping. Carl, what's up? You came back with young Master Yen, do you know the details? Asked a warrior who was familiar with Carl. You will know it in no time. Carl smiled proudly. Young Master Yen will definitely surprise you guys. What is it? What on earth happened? Their curiosity was even stronger as they circled Carl and couldn't stop asking. Not now. But I guess that you will know soon enough. Without giving them an exact answer, Carl squeezed his way out of the crowd and left with the troop of warriors. In the backyard of Sure family, at the center of the huge training field, the diamond-shaped test jade was glinting in the sunshine as if it was a small sun. Sure Jian was standing beside the testing jade. As Sure Yen and Yang Hai came over, he patted the jade and suddenly, a ball of light flew into the jade from his hand. The dazzling testing jade dimmed at once and returned to its original color. Inject your profound qi into the testing jade. Sure Jian announced with firm eyes. Sure Yen confidently walked up to the testing jade, stretched out his hand, and pressed on the jade. He operated his profound qi and injected it into the testing jade. Complex patterns showed up on the silver testing jade and a vague orange light shone from it. Gradually the light got brighter and the color deeper. Okay now. Sure Jian's mouth trembled as he focused his eyes on Sure Yen. I heard that the martial spirit of Sure family also awakened in your body, did it? Yes. Show me. Okay. Sure Yen stretched out the other hand and rolled up his sleeve. As he operated the martial spirit according to his will, his arm gradually petrified and became dark brown. Dark brown! Sure Jian and Yang Hai cried out at the same time with great amazement on their faces, while gazing at Sure Yan's brown arm in astonishment. Is it because of the light? Yang Hai blinked his eyes and rubbed them, then looked directly into the sun and mumbled, "Am I dazzled?" Upon hearing that, Sure Jian also got confused. He grabbed Sure Yan's arm and demanded, "Come up here. Go into the shadow of that rock so the color can be seen clearly." Sure Yen didn't attempt to refuse and peacefully walked after him to the backside of the rock. "It is dark brown." Sure Jian shouted loudly and his breathing got heavier. His bright eyes stared at Sure Yen as he asked in a dignified tone, "Little bastard, what the hell has happened to you? Why? Why is your martial spirit dark brown? Is it at the second stage of petrification?" "Absolutely. It is at the second stage. Though I'm a mere nascent level warrior, my martial spirit reached the second stage. Give us a reasonable explanation." We Sure family, from the far ancestors to my generation, had never come across this situation. Our martial spirit never reaches the second stage before we reach human level. You're the first one. What happened? What on earth happened to you? Sure Jian was almost mad. Well, the thing is, Sure Yen repeated what he had told Hanzhong for a second time. After he finished his story, Sure Jian kept his position and stared at him with a weird expression. "Big Grandpa, what do you mean by that look?" I explained it. "You mean 3 magical red fruits awoke your martial spirit and made your martial spirit so odd? And gave you profound qi and helped to advance to the 3rd sky of nascent level." Sure Jian's face got more and more twisted as he yelled, "Just because of 3 fruits?" "Yes, that's it." "Where's this fruit?" "I will send people to see if we can plant more of it." "Don't bother, there were only 3. I searched for a very long time but never saw it again. Little bastard. You're not fooling me, are you? Shi Jian showed obvious suspicion. Of course I'm fooling you. Shi Yan thought to himself, but looked serious as he reassured. I really have no idea. Anyway, I ate the fruits and that's it. Nothing else. Even I don't know the reason why my martial spirit is different from others. He insisted without any reluctance. Shi Jian kept asking a few more times and tried to test him, but the only response he got was, I don't know either. Finally, Shi Jian gave up. After another thought, he said, since your martial spirit turned dark brown, well, has the feature of the martial spirit changed? I mean, did it merely change its color but still kept the intensity of the first stage? If my sense is accurate, it is the second stage. I will try. Shi Jian hurried to press his hand on Shi Yan's chest. Kid, cover your body with petrification. Don't worry, I will increase my power little by little so it won't hurt you. Okay. Gradually, a ball of dark light appeared in Shi Jian's palm, and the energy in it grew stronger and stronger, striking on his chest. Suddenly, Shi Jian withdrew all the dark light like a sponge by the other hand. Shi Jian was so excited that he couldn't help but nod and say joyfully, amazing. It really is the second stage. Bastard, I don't know how you manage this, but from this day on, you can't be lazy. Whether you like it or not, I will push you to be a warrior. Chapter 49. The Sky Gate and the God Area. Chapter 49. The Sky Gate and the God Area. In the gravity room. Beside a huge mace at the center of the room, Shi Yan was striking it heavily as his body operated petrification and sweated all over. That mace was 7 meters tall and 3 meters wide, which was deep-rooted at the center of the stone ground in the gravity room. The sharp tips on it were like short rods shining with a dark light. Shi Yan's body had already turned dark brown and he was breathing heavily. Moving around the mace, he kept slamming into it with his shoulders, arms, waist, and thighs in turns. Endless blunt thunderous sounds came out from the gravity room. To trigger the potential of the petrification martial spirit of the Shi family, one must train themselves in a ruthless way. Only by slamming against hard objects could the power of petrification be used to the fullest. And only by ruthlessly tormenting one's body could his petrification martial spirit adapt to any kind of attacks from his opponents. There were 7 dark gravity pillars erected in the gravity room, which increased the gravity in the room to 7 times normal gravity. Bang, bang, bang. With his upper body naked, Shi Yan wore a serious face while he was training his body to the limit in order to activate the potential of his petrification martial spirit. Every time he slammed into the mace with his body, it would send out a thin layer of brown light. The light flashed for a short moment. It would explode the moment Shi Yan's body touched the mace and would disappear soon after the touch. After about 5,000 repetitions with different parts of his body, Shi Yan collapsed, unable to use his energy anymore. With his limbs spread out, he laid down in the center of the room, letting his sweat flow like a stream over his skin, which wet the green stone ground. It had been half a month. In the past half a month, Shi Yan ate and slept in the gravity room. He never left the room, even to go to the restroom. That was Shi Jian's plan. As soon as Shi Jian found out that Shi Yan's martial spirit had reached the second stage, he made Shi Yan stop his other training and focus on refining his body. Shi Jian meant to trigger the entire potential of Shi Yan's second stage petrification martial spirit at the fastest speed, and to strengthen his body structure to the extent that it could bear the attacks from a human-level warrior. During the past half-month, Shi Jian, Han Feng, Yang Hai, and other elders came to watch him now and then. Shi Jian, for example, would come to see him every 3 days. He would examine the changes on Shi Yan's body carefully and give him some advice on the training intensity for the next stage. Lying on the ground with fatigue, Shi Yan began to adjust his breathing slowly. After feeling more strength in his arms and legs, he managed to sit up and began to operate his profound qi. Though he was exhausted, his profound qi circulated even faster than before. During this process, Shi Yan closed his eyes and tried to calm his heart, clear his mind. Every time he went to this state, he found that his blood, flesh, cells, and bones were all nourishing his body in a way he couldn't understand. His broken body would soon recover from his extreme fatigue and gain strength. This was the self-recovery of the immortal martial spirit. Shiryan knew it well. Not knowing how much time had passed, he woke up gradually with his eyes as bright as the stars. After meditating, the fatigue in his body disappeared and his profound qi became active. There seemed to be a strong explosiveness in it which was about to break out. At this moment, the stone door of the gravity room opened a little. Hanzhong walked in with a big smile and 7 bamboo baskets in his hands. He put down the bamboo baskets and took out the delicate dishes one by one. Today's dishes: bird's nest, sea cucumber, turtle, bear's palm, glossy Ganoderma. Brother Yen, you are too gluttonous. 1 meal for you is even more than 5 meals of what the other young masters of Shi family eat. If you were in a small family, everything would be eaten by you. Hanzhong laughed as he put down the plates and secretly took out a jar of wine. This jar of wine, called Flame, is part of my collection. Drink it up quickly and I will dispose of it. Shiryan didn't try to refuse as he walked over to Hanzhong quickly and began to swallow the food. After wolfing down the rich dishes which only wealthy families could afford, he took up the jar of Flame, raised his head, and drank. Wiping his mouth and putting the empty jar down, he chuckled. Old Han, you should bring me 2 jars of it next time. 1 jar is not enough. Brother Yen, the wine Flame is from the Spring Pavilion, costing 500 purple crystal coins. Hanzhong squeezed out a bitter smile. I saved this one last time I went there. I will bring you knife tomorrow, which only costs 100 blue crystal coins. I can even bring you 4 jars of it. They are only crystal coins. Shiryan didn't care at all. Bring me Flame. I will give you the crystal coins next time. Then it's okay with me. Hanzhong smirked. Brother Yen, the family head kept it confidential about you being a warrior. Most warriors and escorts in the family don't know about it. Do you know why? Why? Shiryan asked lazily. The martial competition that occurs every 5 years is going to happen in 3 months. You know, in the last competition, we were surpassed by the Mo and Ling families, so the family head roared for days after that. This time, he wants me to attend the martial competition? Shiryan responded in surprise before Hanzhong finished his speech. The martial competition was a big event co-held by the 5 biggest families in the Merchant Union, which every warrior could attend. The competitions happened according to 5 levels: elementary level, nascent level, human level, disaster level, and earth level. Warriors of every level could compete for the first 3 places of their respective levels. The 5 big families would offer a lot of training materials as rewards, such as medicine pills, treasures, martial skills, and so forth for the winners. The 5 big families co-held the martial competition for 2 reasons. On one hand, they needed to pick expert warriors to strengthen their power. On the other hand, the competition would be motivation for warriors in this country to train hard to enhance the power of the country. Those individual warriors who weren't attached to any big family longed for the medicine pills, treasures, and martial skills. Some of them were also looking for an opportunity to attach themselves to a big family. Therefore, every martial competition would attract thousands of warriors and would be very energetic. Apart from those individual warriors, the 5 big families would send out their descendants to compete in the competition. That way, they were able to show their strength and attract outstanding warriors to choose them. Therefore, the martial competition was not only an opportunity for the big families to attract warriors, but also a stage for them to secretly fight. Thus, both the warriors and mercenaries in this country and the 5 big families attached great importance to the martial competition. Sometimes, the ownership of controversial properties among the 5 families will be decided through the competition. For example, in the last competition, the Shi family and the Mo family staked the ownership of 3 mines. Unfortunately, in the battles among the 3rd descendants, except Shi Tianyun, the other Shi family descendants, Shi Tianluo and Shi Tianke, were beaten by the Mo family descendants. So in the end, the Mo family won 2 mines and the Shi family only won 1. You may not know, but we fought a lot with the Mo family over disputes on some properties recently. So the same thing may happen again in the martial competition this year. They may stake the ownership of some properties, which means I'm going to have a chance to perform. Sure, the family head must be hopeful that you will win for our family. That's why he is so strict with you and comes to watch you every 3 days. You don't know how busy he is recently, but he still makes time to check on you, which shows how much he cares about you. Okay, I got it. In the rock room. Sitting upright on a huge rock, Yan's bright eyes had a serious look in them, seeming to be in deep thought. On the auction in the misty pavilion, there was a fragment picture of the Sky Gate. Han Feng was reporting the latest news to Jian, who was standing next to him. The Sky Gate was a magical portal leading to the God Area, a mysterious space. The God Area may exist in the Grace Mainland or may not. It was an independent space. No one knew how the God Area was formed or its structure or where would it appear. Only through the Sky Gate could one enter the God Area. There were various versions of the legends about the God Area. It was said that there were all sorts of mysterious things in different God Areas. Martial skills of spirit level and even God level, bizarre drugs, rare treasures. For months ago, the Medicine King Musun's disciple Karu stole a fragment picture from his teacher. Maybe the two fragments come from the same picture. And are they two separate fragments or just the same one? Maybe the one in the Misty Pavilion is the one Karu had stolen. Jian had a quick thought when he recalled the news from 4 months ago. Han Feng shook his head that Karu had disappeared a long time ago. But the fragment in the Misty Pavilion was provided by a woman. Seeing it as a serious matter, the Misty Pavilion didn't sell it directly, but kept it in the name of authenticating. That broken picture is still at the Misty Pavilion? Jian asked firmly. Yep. Han Feng nodded. The Beiming family, the Mo family, the Ling family and the Zhou family had all contacted the Misty Pavilion to purchase that fragment after they got the news. But the Misty Pavilion won't put it up for auction before they authenticate it, so the 4 families merely showed their strong interest without taking any secret actions. It is only a mere fragment. If it was a complete picture, the Beiming family would have stolen it. Jian sneered. Do we need to take action? Keep an eye on it, but don't get involved for the time being. Remember to exchange information with the Zhou family. We can't act bluntly before the second fragment appears. Okay. Chapter 50. A Cut. Chapter 50. A Cut. In the gravity room. Yan was leaning against a gravity pillar while feeling pain all over his body. His naked body was so strong that the lines of his muscles could be clearly seen. They looked like they were molded from metal and looked full of explosiveness. While being provided with abundant food, Yan spent another month intensely training his body. During this time he had not only gotten stronger, but he had also become taller. Abruptly, the door was pushed open. Jian, Han Feng and Yang Hai showed up at the door. Jian's torch-like eyes glanced at Yan from afar before nodding. It seems you haven't been idle. Of course. Yan answered whilst exhausted, and didn't change his position. I guess I have refined my body enough. I need to choose a martial skill to train with. Well, you are not the one to decide that. Jian swaggered up to him and said with a rigid face, Give me one of your hands. Yan stretched out his left hand in response and focused. Immediately, his left arm petrified into a dark brown color. Under scrutiny, wisps of shining dark light could be seen on the surface of his arm, forming what looked like a thin transparent layer covering his arms. Wow! Jian exclaimed with excitement and observed happily. Huh. You really are something. There turns out to be dark light. You trained really hard. So great. Great. Yang Hai was delighted as he walked up as well. Stepfather, is this state equivalent to the human level? Years ago, when Qing reached the 3rd sky of human level, her skin also sent out dark light after petrification. Is this the same thing? Yes. Jian nodded calmly with a little muscular spasm in the corner of his mouth. The kid is really promising. He improved so much in a mere half a month. This is amazing. Although Shi Jian didn't want to make Shi Yan overly prideful, he couldn't help but praise him with a surprised face. "Kid, how on earth did you manage that?" "I trained how you told me to. I kept at it, and this is the result." Shi Yan shrugged indifferently. "How long do you train for each day?" Even Han Feng, who was rarely talkative, couldn't help but ask. "About 15 hours. 15 hours. Han Feng and Shi Jian cried out at the same time. They looked at each other and found astonishment in each other's eyes. "It's impossible. You bastard. You must be fooling us." Shi Jian yelled and said firmly, "Your body needs at least 18 hours to be fully recovered before the next intensive slam training. And you need time for meals. It's more than enough for you to train for 5 hours a day." Where did 15 hours come from? Han Feng was skeptical as well, as he shook his head softly. "Little bastard, tell us the truth. Don't be naughty in front of your big grandpa." Yang Hai grunted and reproached. "Who says I need 18 hours to recover?" Shi Yan said lightheartedly, "I just need 4 hours. "That's impossible." Shi Jian and Han Feng yelled in surprise at the same time. "Your body won't recover so soon after such intensive training. I have managed the Shi family for so many years and have never seen anyone who could recover in such short time. Shi Yang was the most talented kid I've seen, and even he needed about 15 hours to recover when he did slam training at the human level." Shi Jian shook his head and grunted. "You mean to say that you recover 4 times faster than him? Do you even think that is possible?" "Nothing is impossible." Shi Yan smiled and stood up immediately. He walked to the corner of the room and took out a dagger from the bag on the ground. "Big Grandpa, something has confused me for a long time. Now that my father is here, I want to ask for your permission to do a test." "What test?" Shi Jian frowned. "Uncle Han, I want to cut your arm." "Bastard!" Shi Jian shouted. "Kid, what are you talking about? Just a slight cut." Shi Yan kept calm, and for an accurate comparison, "I will also cut my father's and my own arms as well." Family head, maybe young Master Yan had some plan. "Why not have a try? What the hell do you want to do?" Shi Jian was confused. "You will know." Shi Yan walked to Han Feng in an easy manner. "Uncle Han, please don't operate your profound qi, even if it bleeds, okay?" "Got it. So I will do it now." "Okay." Shi Yan walked up and made a cut on Han Feng's left arm. Crimson blood gushed out at once. "Father, it's your turn." Shi Yan walked toward Yang Hai. "Little bastard. What are you going to do? Your father is not a warrior. Be gentle." "Okay. I know it." Shi Yan stepped up and made a cut as fast as lightning on Yang Hai's arm. Seeing his bleeding arm, Yang Hai screamed and yelled, "Little bastard. You are so cruel. I wasn't ready." Under Han Feng and Shi Jian's gaze, Shi Yan then casually cut on his own arm and watched as it started to bleed. "Bastard, what do you want to show us? What do you mean by this?" "I can't see anything," Yang Hai clamored. Wait for a moment." Shi Yan was quite serious now, and his expression became more rigid. Han Feng and Shi Jian were full of suspicion as they couldn't figure out what was going on and moved their eyes over to Shi Yan. Shi Yan smiled but didn't give them an explanation. He covered his bleeding arm with his jacket, not letting them see it. 10 minutes later. "What?" Han Feng noticed something strange first as he gazed at Yang Hai's arm in astonishment. Family head. "Look." Shi Jian was focusing on Shi Yan, and upon hearing Han Feng, turned to Yang Hai. He also noticed the strange thing. "Hai, why did the blood on your arm freeze and turn into a blood cocoon?" "Ah!" Yang Hai cried out as soon as he noticed the cocoon. "I don't know. But my arm is still bleeding." Han Feng stretched out his arm and showed it to Yang Hai. "What's up?" Yang Hai asked in surprise. "You trained with martial skills for so many years, and your body quality is higher than mine. You should have stopped bleeding earlier than me. What happened?" "Look at my arm." Shi Yan smiled and unbuttoned his jacket to show them his arm, and wiped the frozen blood away. The cut on his arm turned to be as thin as a needle, and the flesh on the both sides seemed to be moving toward each other and recovering quickly. Shi Jian and Han Feng were aghast and quivered. "Bastard, what on earth is going on?" Shi Jian asked after a long astonishment. "This is a type of martial spirit. My father possesses it as well. But he doesn't train in martial arts and hasn't been severely hurt before, so he never noticed it. Shi Yan spilled out this secret calmly. Shi Jian kept silent with his eyes shining brightly and hands clenching. After a long while he burst into wild laughter, haha. Martial spirit. Self-recovery martial spirit. I call it the immortal martial spirit. Shi Yan explained. I assume that this martial spirit could recover lost limbs and heal internal organs at its highest stage. Which means, one would be immortal. Han Feng and Shi Jian were stunned, but after some careful thought, they both realized the power of this martial spirit. They couldn't suppress their excitement anymore as their breathing became faster. Bastard, so you possess twin martial spirits now? Yang Hai wasn't able to contain his joy either as he realized this and couldn't help but cry out. Of course it's twin martial spirits. Absolutely. Shi Jian laughed wildly. He patted Yang Hai's back so hard that the latter fell to the ground. Hi, I can't believe you possess a martial spirit as well. Haha. I've never thought of that. I should have cut your body when you were still a kid. Haha. Now do all of you believe I can recover in 4 hours? Shi Yan smiled. Definitely. Completely. Haha. Shi Jian couldn't be happier. Ignoring Yang Hai who was still sitting on the ground, he declared, Kid, come with me. Let's go to the Martial Spirit Palace. All the secret martial skills are kept there. You can choose any you want. Great. Chapter 51. The Martial Spirit Palace. Chapter 51. The Martial Spirit Palace. There were 5 floors in the Martial Spirit Palace of the Shi family. Every floor was named after the cultivation levels, and each floor held the martial skill books corresponding to that cultivation level. On the first and the second floor were martial skills of the mortal level. Generally, elementary level warriors would choose from the martial skills on the first floor, while nascent level warriors would choose the books on the second floor. On the third and fourth floor were the martial skills of the profound level. Human-level warriors would go to the third floor and disaster-level warriors to the fourth floor. The fifth floor of the Martial Spirit Palace held the soul spirit-level martial skill of the Shi family. But this floor was exclusively for the family head, Shi Jian, who occasionally went up there. The spirit-level martial skill was so special that even the ministers of the Shi family didn't have a chance to look at it. Only the Shi descendants who reached the earth level would have the chance to train with it. However, among the Shi descendants, Shi Yang had reached the highest level, but was only at the third sky of the disaster level. He was still 1 step away from the earth level. Shi Jian led Shi Yan directly to the Martial Spirit Palace. In front of the Martial Spirit Palace, an old woman with wrinkles all over her face bowed as she saw Shi Jian, family head. This old woman was named Yun Luo, an old minister of the Shi family. Like Han Feng, she was also a Nirvana-level warrior of the first sky. It was said that she was even older than Shi Jian. She was already a minister when Shi Jian was a little boy. She had stayed in the Shi family for decades and was trusted by Shi Jian, so she was assigned to guard the Martial Spirit Palace. I will help Shi Yan choose his martial skills. Shi Jian strode to the door, turned and ordered Han Feng and Yang Hai, you two wait here for a moment. Han Feng and Yang Hai nodded together. Yun Luo stepped away for Shi Jian and Shi Yan to enter the palace. And as soon as they entered it, she stood at the door and nodded at Han Feng with a weird expression. During the past few days, Shi Yan was closely protected by Shi Jian and stayed in the gravity room day and night. Not to mention Yun Luo, even the relatives of Shi family didn't know much about Shi Yan's latest achievements. And now Shi Jian had taken him to the Martial Spirit Palace to choose martial skills in person, which means Shi Yan was officially a warrior. Yun Luo knew about Shi Yan. She knew that this young master didn't possess a martial spirit and was not into martial arts as a kid. Now he was 17 and turned out to be a warrior. This was too abnormal. Thus, Yun Luo was confused. As she couldn't figure it out, Yun Luo looked to Han Feng in suspicion, but Han Feng shook his head, implying that he couldn't explain. Yun Luo was even more confused, but didn't ask anymore. She stood at the door and began to think. If it was a normal day, she would have closed the iron door and followed the visitor into the martial spirit palace in case they went into an unsuitable floor. But this time Jian took Yan there in person, so she didn't need to be too cautious. There are 18 mortal-level martial skills on the first and the second floor, 8 profound-level martial skills on the third floor, and 4 profound-level martial skills on the fourth floor. Now that you are at the third sky of nascent level, you can go up to the second floor directly. Jian briefly explained to Yan and took him directly to the second floor. On the walls of every floor of the martial spirit palace, there were several stone grooves. In each of these grooves, there was a book on martial skills. The grooves were covered with green crystals, at the center of which was a small keyhole. A piece of paper beside the keyhole briefly introduced the martial skill located in each groove. After walking around the second floor, Yan found that at least 10 martial skills of the 18 martial skills were ordinary and were trained by many mercenaries and warriors, such as Kinmo's Star Fist. The other 8 martial skills were rarely seen outside, but their power and training process seemed quite simple to Yan. Deep down, Yan was someone who loved a challenge, who loved the process in solving a problem. Therefore, after walking around on the second floor, Yan shook his head. Big Grandpa, the martial skills on this floor are too boring. Let's go upstairs. If it was 1 year ago, Yan couldn't have talked to Jian like this. But Yan had demonstrated his immortal martial spirit, which gave him the right to do what he wanted. To him, only the mysterious martial spirit was important to him, so he wouldn't say a word about it to anyone. But the immortal martial spirit was far from a secret, and only by showing it to others could he gain more privileges in family and receive more training from Jian. As he possessed twin martial spirits, Jian would tolerate anything. As expected, Jian didn't show any disagreement. He was a little hesitant as he grunted, "You're a mere nascent-level warrior. It's not a good thing to train in profound-level martial skills. Am I an average person? You see, though I've just reached nascent level, my petrification has already reached the second stage. Besides, I possess the ability to quickly recover which others don't have. The average person may be not suitable to train in profound-level martial skills as my level, but maybe I am." Hearing upon this, Jian was surprised and he nodded. "Well, you have a point. Let's go upstairs." One after another, mysterious martial skill were laid in the grooves. If Yan showed any interest in a martial skill, Jian would patiently explain its features and training process to him. "Great! The martial skills on the third floor are much more interesting." Jian kept nodding his head, and he quickly noted all the profound-level martial skills on the third floor in his heart. After a while, he said, "Let's go to the fourth floor now." "Okay, I will give you a detailed explanation of the 4 martial skills on the fourth floor. You are different from those common people, so I can explain them in advance." Jian then took Yan to the fourth floor. As they got to the fourth floor, Jian walked to a groove directly. This is Star Net, which can turn one's profound chi into light and weave it into a star net. This star net can directly restrain the enemy's profound chi, so he can't use it at all. That's amazing! Well, it's currently beyond your ability. This martial skill requires very dense profound chi and complete control of your profound chi. You are too far away from it. Jian was very strict. He sneered and walked to another groove. This is Desert Prince, which can produce thousands of handprints from all directions and block the enemy's movement, pushing them to fight you directly. We of the family have a special martial spirit, and used in conjunction with Desert Prince, we can release our ability to the fullest. This, Desert Prince, is the perfect match for our petrification martial spirit. This is great too. Well, it's also beyond your ability. You can't train with it before you reach disaster level, for the same reasons as before. How can you block people from all directions if you can't even release a handprint? What's the next one? It's Dark Moon Shadow. When trained to the highest state, your body would turn into an untouchable shadow. It's not easy either. It requires a high level and the help of the energy of disaster level. So just forget about it. This is the last groove. Jian exclaimed as he seemed to find something. His eyes brightened and then he paused. This martial skill trains one's fingers. Once you complete it, your fingers will be as sharp as knives and can pierce the enemy's body easily. It's very easy to defeat an enemy and completely shatter him after training in this martial skill. Combined with our petrification martial spirit, it has an extremely strong power. I'm intrigued about this one. Shiryan was surprised. Any special requirements? There are. But it seems you are very suitable for it. Shi Jian said after hesitation. To train with the finger gun, one needs to reach the second stage of petrification and have the dark light first. Thus he won't break his fingers while training. You can train with it. Then I choose this one. Shiryan said decisively. Shi Jian gazed at Shiryan with a weird look and sank in deep thought. What's wrong? Anything else? Shiryan felt a little anxious. Kid, you really want to train with this finger gun? Shi Jian took a deep breath and looked abnormal. What's the problem? You can train with it at a very fast speed, and your immortal martial spirit would be used to its fullest. Shiryan paused, then continued speaking, but it's a hideous process to train the finger gun. It's much harder than slamming your body into the mace. It's complete torture. You really want to try it? Not those elementary martial skills. Yes. Okay, then I will tell to the process to train the finger gun. Your fingers will become very sharp after you finish the training process. But it's torture to get there. A day later, in the gravity room. Out of 7 gravity pillars, 6 were covered by the skins of a 5th-level demon beast, the silver snake. The skin could negate the gravity, so the gravity was currently 2 times normal. Beside the only pillar not covered by the snake skin, Shiryan was positioned upside down, supported by the index finger of his left hand. This thin index finger was supporting his whole body weight, which was twice as heavy due to the increased gravity. His index finger was trembling slightly and seemed about to break at any time. Shiryan's face was as red as a lobster. The muscles on his left arm were quivering and the veins were shaking like small snakes, which were trying to force their way out of his skin. Extreme pain came from his fingertip to his heart. It felt like numerous needles were stabbing into his finger. The pain stroked his nerves like waves, and he was about to break down. Endure it. Shiryan gritted his teeth and blood was about to gush out of his face. As he was positioned upside down, his blood had flowed down into his head, which was intolerable. 5 minutes. Shiryan was about to break down after only 5 minutes. The pain from his finger almost made him give up. It would have broken if it wasn't petrified. Carry on. 6 minutes. 7 minutes. When it came to the 8th minute, Shiryan was at the edge of breaking down, and his consciousness began to dim. Just then, all sorts of negative emotions exploded in the meridians of his head all at once. All the negative emotions gushed into his mind crazily. Rampage had been triggered. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.